morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning. Ooh, I see that I'm a little low in the frame there. My stand needs a little Viagra there. There we go. Whoops. See? All right, let's try that again. There we go. Sorry about that. It just slid down. Good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 4 and episode number 609 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. 100% Canadian, and I have a new shirt, Sir Grizzly.
Canada is not a state.
Yes, mais en français. En français, le Canada n'est pas un État. So, yeah.
You know how bad you got to piss off Quebecers for them to say something like that?
Yeah, Franco-Ontarian too.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
As
It's
we
like,
say,
you really stepped in it, guys.
yeah, I say there's an expression in French, ça me vient me chercher dans mon fond, like right in the bottom here, profoundly. It's like hey, you ain't grabbing me by the beaver. I'll tell you that. All right, today, recording day is Tuesday, March 25th, 2025, and it looks like it's going to be a nice day at the Beaver Lodge. It's already at least 3 degrees Celsius here, so yesterday we had a little bit of the white stuff, and yeah, I mean, it is spring, so, you know, we're a little eager for, maybe not necessarily like, you know, sunbathing weather, but, you know, just feeling
Warmth.
sun-kissed when you're walking down the street. We'll take that
Just
for now,
warmth.
consistently.
Just give me some warmth. I just want
Yes,
warmth.
exactly.
We don't have it right now.
I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver. And with me is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and I have been saying it wrong. It's psychictarot.ca, not .com. So my apologies. I went back and checked yesterday just to be sure. So, yes, psychictarot.ca. Thank you very much. I'm only one beaver. Okay. We have a show for you today. But before we get into it, Mr. Grizzly, how is your mental health today, sir?
Good, actually.
That.
I fell asleep quite early last night, around 8:30, on the couch, and woke up at 12:30. And just crawled into bed. Lola crawled in beside me a few minutes later, and I woke up at 3 a.m. Had a vivid dream. For some reason, Roy Orbison was singing. He's been dead for over 20 years. But he was in my dream, and we had a conversation, and he kept singing Crying over and over again for some reason. I have no idea
that
why.
song.
Yeah, but not when you hear it
No,
nonstop for what felt like hours.
no.
So yeah. When did he die? I gotta check that. Orbison. It's
And
gotta be, is it 30?
oh,
1988.
it's been a while.
Jesus.
Yeah,
30, what's that,
yeah.
37 years?
Because when did he
37 years
covered?
ago,
Yeah,
1988.
yeah, yeah. He didn't he do a cover of "I Drove All Night"?
Yeah, he did that.
He did that. Yeah, okay. And it was soon after that.
He was only 52 when he died.
Hmm.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Oh, by the way, if there's anybody listening, and well, it'd have to be a generational thing because if you're our age, you have to have been living under a rock, maybe. But if you've never heard Katie Lang's cover of "Crying,"
No, it was a duet.
oh yes, it's
They did
true.
a
It was,
duet.
yeah, they did it as a duet. You're right. If you've never heard that, it's like
Yeah, it's brilliant.
make a note, and after the show, you need to listen to that because oh my god.
It's a black and white video. It's really well done. Yeah.
Hmm. All right. Let's see. All right. I'm just gonna open up this stuff here. All right. Um, before we get into things, we have been talking to you about a by-election in the province of Manitoba, and that was for Transcona, and that took place on the 18th, and we never got back to that, but the official results are in, and the riding was had been held by a late education minister, Nello Al-Tomare, who died earlier this year. Our condolences to all those who loved him and cared about him. Um, and that led to NDP candidate Shannon Corbett becoming the area's newest MLA. Transcona was known as an NDP stronghold and has only seen one MLA from another party elected in more than 3 decades. This is according to Global News here. According to the official elections results released Friday, Corbett won the vote handily with 3,616 votes, with her closest competitor, progressive conservative Sean Nason, tallied 1,569. Liberal Brad Boudreau got to 217 votes, and independent candidate Susan Ock got to 208. I wonder if that's the same Susan Ock who's the speed skater who won gold.
I don't know. Could be.
Huh. Wonder. Elections Manitoba said a total of 5,630 votes were cast out of 17,962 registered voters, a turnaround of around 31%. 4 ballots were rejected and 16 declined. Not sure if 31% these days is good for a by-election. I don't know. But yes, those are the results.
That is her.
It is?
She is one and the same. Yeah, she ran as an independent candidate in the 2025 by-election, the Transcona constituency.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I just saw the name. It's like, oh, gee. Yeah, she was good.
She competed in 3 Olympics, 88
Yeah.
in Calgary, 94 in Lillehammer, and 98 at Nagano.
Mm-hmm.
Retired in 99.
And she won medals, right?
Yeah, but she changed her mind and competed in the 5th Winter Olympics in the 2002 Games in Salt Lake City, but didn't reach the podium and retired after those. So she got silver in Lillehammer in 94, silver in Nagano in 98, and bronze in Calgary in 88.
Yeah. And the silver in Nagano 98 was a Canada 1-2 because Katrina LeMaidon got gold. I was in the hospital when that happened.
Oh.
I remember I was watching it on that little TV that they had in the hospital back then. Yeah.
Yeah, the Wii.
Up at 2 something in the morning, just like watching it.
I don't think do they still rent those in hospitals? I don't know. And the reason I ask is because of the fact that, well, people just bring their tablets in.
Yeah.
When my sister was last in the hospital, she just brought one. Remember portable DVD players?
Oh, yes.
They were like a laptop, right? They were really popular for a while because you could get them for like $50 at the drugstore.
Oh, yeah.
So people had them left, right, and center. They were, hanging them off the back seat of the driver's seat and the passenger seat for the kids, and now they're just built in. But and now you don't even use DVDs. It's just you download it and stream it. It's funny how quickly that format kind of died. DVDs and Blu-rays, I just still buy Blu-rays when I see them, but it's not the catalog that I have of DVDs is quite large, but it'll never go beyond what it is.
Mm.
Whereas I still
Yeah.
buy vinyl. I still buy vinyl.
Right. Okay, we're going to jump right into it. Mr. Grizzly, you'll notice that there's a couple of things under that. I just needed a placeholder, so we'll just go to block A right away. And if we need to go back up there, we'll put those things in. Okay, so as we said, we're going to do where the polls are in the morning, just to let you know where things are. 3 new polls came out, one from Liaison, one from Palace, and one from Main Street. Main Street and Liaison are both rolling polls, like Nanos is. So Nanos rolls, I think, every week, and I don't know if I think they're doing dailies now, or some of them will be doing dailies, but they're doing every 3 days. And then the other ones come in at whatever schedule they are. It is reported that the change from Main Street and Palace's previous polls are quite notable. Main Street's last poll was March 13th, when they had the Liberals ahead by 2 points. Palace's last poll was on February 6th, when they had the Conservatives ahead by 6. And so those new ones came out, and they are showing, Palace is showing Liberals up by 4 and Main Street by 6 there. So when you look at all the poll aggregators, they're pretty much all in line. You got the CBC poll tracker that's saying now 177 seats for the Liberals, so that's up 3, with the Conservatives losing 2 and the NDP losing 1 from the day before. 338 has the Liberals at 178, the Conservatives at 130, with the Conservatives losing 1 and the NDP gaining 1 along the way. And then Polling Canada, no change from yesterday. It seems that if you are living in Elmwood, Transcona, you are probably in a very, 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 very close race. So if strategic voting is a thing there, but there it says the NDP have fallen just behind the Conservatives 38-37 in the model. And I would like to give a big thank you to Kit Joanne for granting us a membership to information from Canada Polling, so that we can bring all this additional information to you, because otherwise we'd only have 2 of the 3 aggregators, and now we have access to all 3. So thank you for that very kind donation. As was the case for Mr. Carney, for Liberal leader Carney, Conservative leader Pierre Poilièvre also had some pre-writ things going on over the weekend that were a little interesting. When we last left off on Friday, we were talking about him making this big pitch about the Ring of Fire and saying that he was going to get things approved in 6 months. And we were kind of laughing and giggling because Mr. Grizzly, of course, brought up that's kind of like a non-ceded treaty area. So other people have something to say about that. And then, well, it turns out that in the analysis, when people were talking about it, they were laughing so hard. I don't know if sometimes you see on, if you're on social media, the meme from the movie The Gods Are Crazy. Where the 3, now is the time we throw back our head in laughter. Ha, 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 ha. I imagine the indigenous community having done that, because, see, the thing is that you have to consult, and the consultation, the Supreme Court has said again and again and again, has to be meaningful. And I'm not sure how you have meaningful consultation on resources and sharing and making sure that you don't screw up the water tables and stuff like that in 6 months.
Yeah, no kidding.
He's just blowing sunshine up your butt.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. But hey, I told you that they would start panicking.
Well, the panic yesterday was evident in his press conference.
Yes. Now, oh yeah, I know. It's meanwhile, remember, then Prime Minister Carney, one of his last things was having that first ministers meeting where he's getting, when he says we need one economy, not 13, he's trying to get people to agree on some pre-approved corridors. That we could do all the assessments and do. So 2 different methods, right?
Mm-hmm.
But which one is more likely to work?
Well,
I'm just saying, right? Then, Mr. Grizzly, if we have the first link, you know you're losing. The Conservatives have one card they play when they're really, really, really desperate, and usually that comes around the end of the campaign. If they knew this, well, the writs weren't even drawn yet, and
yeah, the Conservatives have effectively conceded the election before it officially starts. Mr. Beaver tweeted this out. Go ahead, sir, if you want to read it.
I'm watching on my camera, unfortunately, so you're going to have to read it.
So
It is very tiny.
Yeah, no problem. Just give me a sec here, and I'll bring it into the record for you. It says called it. I said that if the human Splatfest, known as Pierre Poilièvre, fell such that polling data showed a Libs majority, desperate cons would shift to the pedo card. Facebook is now blocking alternative links, so screen capped it all. They need to play this card this early. Might be a signal that their internal polling numbers are showing no end to sight in Pierre's downfall. Canada Proud launches attack ads linking Mark Carney to notorious pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Pierre Poilievre's office won't say if it condones conservative group ads juxtaposing Prime Minister with a global child sex trafficking ring.
Yeah, you don't have to read the article or anything. It's that's enough.
Yeah,
and there are some pictures pre everything that where Mark Carney was in the same room somewhere as Ghislaine Maxwell, and there are pictures of them side by side. So therefore,
there is one photo that is legit.
Yep.
From 2013 on a beach at a picnic, some formal function. She happened to be there, and I believe Ghislaine Maxwell had worked with his sister-in-law or something to that effect. I can't remember the exact details, but it's irrelevant.
To be totally honest, I don't care enough to know.
No.
Just to do the digging on that one, it's just like, oh, come on, man. Really? Like, really?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, how to tell they've given up, man.
Well, when you go to that deck, right?
Right. Well, listen, they already had the F. Carney flags. They already went after one of his daughters because they're non-binary, or use they, them pronouns.
Right.
And then the pedo card. And that was before the writ was drawn. Yeah. Okay. How to tell it's going well? Then they paid a visit to François Legault, the Premier of Quebec. And apparently, if we see the picture, he did not go alone. And a lot of people were wondering what Evita was doing there. And my only guess is that her French is better than his. And given that she grew up in the province, maybe if it came out of her mouth, Uncle Frankie Legs would be more inclined.
I don't know.
That might be the depth of the strategy here, or just that she's just, and I use this term relatively, as in relative to him, infinitely more likable. Sorry. So, yeah, I'd rather listen to her talk. Just saying.
If
if I had to choose, like if I had, emphasis on had, to choose, then there was some news coming out of the Toronto Star, Mr. Robert Benzie. It seems that another way to tell that your campaign is going well is when there are news articles that are saying that, it seems that you ran to Premier Ford, who, thanks to the last provincial election, is now actually the most prominent conservative voice in the country, and you ran to him and seemed to be asking for help. Well, then it wasn't help, but it was maybe some advice, and then it wasn't. Well, I'm not sure, but Doug Ford was apparently sort of like, "Oh, gee, I'm sorry, like I'm washing my hair tomorrow. Oh, conditioning it. Sorry." So that didn't go well. And it would seem that in this article, it was revealed that Pierre had not even taken a moment yet to actually pick up the phone or write anything, or the just the boilerplate. Congratulations, Doug Ford, on winning your third election. That even Trudeau did. Prime Minister Trudeau did, but he didn't do that. And apparently, he also did not do that for François Legault when he won. So and now he's like calling them up,
and self-centered narcissist. He doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself.
Yeah. So apparently calling them up and hey, how you do? Like that relative that you haven't seen for a while. And it's like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, we should get together. And then it's like, and somewhere along the way, it's like, by the way, do you have like $30?
Yeah, I could use a couple of bucks till next Wednesday.
Okay. Could you help me build my shed? Oh, the shovel I borrowed 5 years ago. Yeah, I got that. Dude, man.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, you got to be nice to people on the way up, man.
Well, you wrote it here. It says it seems Pierre was not nice to people on the way up and never actually called Doug to congratulate him on his most recent election victory. He similarly ignored basic niceties for Premier Legault, and yesterday, Pierre, along with Evita, tried une grande séduction, but it seems Doug has been warning Frankie Legs for some time now to not get too close to Pierre. So what happened next? Both Ford and Pierre rushed out to deny the story. Ford claims he never really ever talked to Pierre, even though there are plenty of photos of them being in the same space about the same time, and was not asked for help because if he admitted that he denied Pierre help, he would lose a slice of his base. Pierre, for his part, denied that the call was awkward, as reported by those privy to the conversation, saying that it was a fantastic call, the best call, a perfect call, fantastic, like you've never seen before. The only thing these two losers could agree on is calling Robert Benzie a liar. Problem is, Doug Ford said he would never touch the Greenbelt, and Pierre has a deferred prosecution agreement, so neither of them are paragons of honesty. In a room full of liars, who do you believe? I'm going with Benzie here. Imagine him in an epic eye roll as he's watching the denials come in. And then, of course, Slappy. How much did you pay Doug Ford to betray Pierre Poilièvre? Was it as much as you paid to travel to Epstein's Island? Like,
right? How to tell you're losing, man?
Pathetic.
Again, this is all before the writ is drawn. Yeesh. Then Danielle Smith had her 9-point ransom note. So of course he was asked about that. And well, this is what he said.
Speaking of homecomings, Mark Carney was in Edmonton yesterday to meet with Danielle Smith. Shortly after the meeting, Smith put out a list of demands for the next prime minister, including, among other things, ending the prohibition on single-use plastics. She said if these demands were not met within 6 months of the new mandate, there would be a national unity crisis. Are you willing to commit right now to meeting the demands that Premier Smith has enumerated?
I think Premier Smith's demands are very reasonable. You'll have to see the rest of our platform roll out in due course, but she was making clear that Mark Carney's using weasel words. He's pretending that he suddenly, 30 days before an election, changed his entire radical net zero, keep it in the ground ideology. Mr. Carney, I can't even believe he would have the audacity to show up in Edmonton.
Speaking of homecomings,
you mean his hometown? His hometown. He had the audacity to show up to his hometown.
Does Pierre even have the audacity to show up in his own writing? Come on. Really? Very reasonable. Very reasonable. Then it comes out that Danielle did that Breitbart thing
Mm-hmm.
where he said, I think they would be on. Really? It's premature enunciation. It sure would have been helpful if the Breitbart article came up before you were asked that question. You answered it in that way, wouldn't it appear?
Yes, because he is in sync with Trump, remember? Didn't we say something to that effect for the last 3 frickin' years? That he's a Trump wannabe? We've been saying this since he stole the leadership campaign. Oh, wait, we'll get to that later.
We can't say that. We cannot say that.
You're right. We can't say that he stole.
We absolutely cannot say that. That is no.
He allegedly had help.
Okay. And put a pin in that because Mr. Grizzly has a bomb for you today with regard to that. So, and then he stopped someplace to try out another slogan. And there was a certain irony because he showed up at another place of work where people wear hard hats and, as Pierre calls it, need to take a shower at the end of the day. People work very hard. And if you have the image, sir?
Image, I have the clip.
Oh, yes.
For the working people, he will only stand up for the millionaire and billionaire global elites. That is all that he has ever done. He's only done 2 things in Canada since he came back from Europe. 1, move his headquarters out of Canada to New York, taking jobs from our country to the United States, just like Trump wanted. And 2, acting as Trudeau's economic advisor, supporting all of his policies.
Okay.
And what does the sign say?
Boots, not suits.
And what's he wearing?
A suit. He took his jacket off to make him look like a worker.
Emphasis on jacket off.
Yeah.
Boots, not. He wears a suit to go to boots, not suits. Psst, you might want to take the jacket off. Oh, yeah. After which he leaves, puts the jacket back on, and probably goes to a fundraiser with all the suits who punch down on the boots. Dude, he was just bad. Dude, come on.
Well, I mean, let's also take a look at this little thing here.
Yes. And again, not an original thought of his. It lifted that too.
Made in America store, boots, not suits. Built America t-shirt. The Trumper strikes again.
Speaking about t-shirts, apparently there's supposed to be, I think it's the 5th estate or something like that is coming in, indicating that some of his merchandise might have a Eastern European source from a nation that former Prime Minister Harper once said that we should probably get closer to.
Hungary?
Run by a guy who's proud to say he runs an illiberal democracy. Mr. Viktor Orban, Hungary. So if that is indeed, if that does indeed a thing that comes out, Mr. Bring It Home, Canada First, with merch in Hungary will probably be a story for a day or two. Stay tuned. Well, and then of course the announcement that not only will media not be embedded, but well, for the media that do show up, there will be no follow-up questions. Ask your question, the answer you get is what you get. And if I attempt to answer your question or accept the premise or whatnot, then well, you don't get a follow-up to press me. Again, how you know it's going well. So then the writ is dropped. And then Pierre did something
Yeah, I don't have the clip. What you sent me is not a clip, it's a still.
Oh, yeah, sorry. It was the same clip from yesterday. Sorry. I'll get that to you.
Okay.
It was, yeah. I forgot to do that in the transfer.
I'm going like, you're trying to find something. I don't have it.
No. That's my bad. So, yeah. Oh, hold on here. What am I
I
looking
find it interesting, though, that when I can look for Pierre Poilièvre's speeches, and they're always fully covered by the Hindustan Times.
Really?
Yeah. Anything he says, it's always covered. India Today or Hindustan Times or something to that effect. Always fully covered.
That is real interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Like I've noticed Hindustan Times pop up a few times in order a few times that I would notice that it's different when searching for a couple of things, but I hadn't noted if it was specifically related to Pierre. But yes, the Hindustan Times is popping up in my feed as a suggested read more often.
Here from Monday's press conference, Hindustan Times. See?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, no problem. I understand they're going to cover news, but it's always Pierre Poilièvre that's getting covered by them.
Huh, interesting.
Find that interesting?
At the same time as apparently Harper recently said that he's heartbroken by what's going on with India. Interesting. All right. We'll have to maybe look into that a little more. Oh, it's just started snowing again. All right. So Pierre did something that made my jaw drop. Actually, and that's hard to do in politics. But it's the launch of an election. Normally, the way things happen is that the prime minister goes to visit the governor general, asks for dissolution of the parliament. Governor general issues a proclamation in the name of the king, which makes it such, gives the green light to the chief electoral officer of Canada to issue the writs. And when it is away, and then the election gets underway, the prime minister becomes leader of the Liberal Party or whatever party they are leading. At the moment, no longer prime minister because we enter caretaker mode.
Which is what we're in right now.
Right? And the now back to leader of the governing party comes out and addresses the nation and announces that we are in an election. And then talks. The other day, Pierre Poilièvre decided that he was going to speak first, literally preempting Mark Carney. Now, one, not that many people will care because they don't follow it, but the absolute and utter arrogance and entitlement that goes with that move. Jaw drop. Mouth of God.
Oh,
Number two, you only do that if you fear that if the other person speaks first, you're not going to make the cut. So you go first because you're trying to set the tone for the election. Now, he's been trying to do this for the last 2.5 years, right? It's going to be a carbon tax election. It's going to be a carbon tax election. We need a carbon tax election. Now, he did not get a carbon tax election. We told you a while ago that he was not going to get a carbon tax election. So now that he can't have a carbon tax election, he wants to set the tone. Sorry, Mr. Grizzly?
No, that's all I'm saying. Like, yeah, the carbon tax it's done. It's finished. Like, get over it, Pierre. Your carbon tax election that you've campaigned on for the last 2 years, it's over. It's done. Walk away.
So he chose to go first. That's a bold move. If you're going to go first, you better have something.
Well,
If you are going to preempt the person who was just second, well, it was at the moment while you're doing this, still is prime minister. At the moment he is doing this, as far as we know as the public, Mark Carney is still prime minister. He doesn't know if the conversation with the governor generals, and if it was way before noon, then his meeting with the governor general wasn't until noon.
yeah, well, and here's the thing, the writ hasn't been drawn at this point, so he's just trying to be preemptive, which, okay, fine, I understand that, but what if your preemptive was way off base? You would have some serious egg on your face.
Well, yeah. So first, you see the podium slogan, the new one, and I'm seeing this like this before he stood up at the podium, right? You're watching and you see that, and I'm sitting like, oh, God. I was like, okay. My first thought was, okay, now he's just combining slogans.
Mm-hmm.
And number two was, damn, even his podium slogans smack of snark.
Oh, yes.
What is the podium slogan, Mr. Grizzly?
Canada first.
And then?
I can't see the rest of it.
Oh,
sure.
Canada first, for a change. Now, he's saying it, Canada first, for a change. And I'm hearing Canada first, for a change. Right?
Yeah,
and it's like, why? Because you weren't putting Canada first, or you need to remind yourself, or what? Like, it's so vague.
It's from a narcissist.
Like, do you have anything, Mr. Grizzly, before we jump into this?
No, I just want to play this and let the chips fall where they may.
Okay.
First, for a change. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone, for being here today. Our little munchkins, I think that my little girl got bored and left me, so I'm going to have to give the speech again when we get home. And there's Cruz. He is, as you can see, he's a fighter pilot, and we have our pet penguin with us today, too. We're happy to be here to launch our campaign to restore Canada's promise and to do it on this very beautiful day. Today, the Liberals are asking for a fourth term in power after swapping Justin Trudeau for his economic advisor and hand-picked successor, Mark Carney. But after the lost Liberal decade, the question is whether Canadians can afford a fourth Liberal term. After these out-of-touch Liberals inflated housing costs, drove up the cost of food, pushed 2 million people to food banks, unleashed crime on our streets, ruined our immigration system, blocked our resources, sent $500 billion to the United States, and made our economy more reliant on the Americans than ever before? Or is it time to put Canada first for a change with a new Conservative government that will axe taxes, honor hard work, build homes, cut taxes, lock up criminals, secure our borders, unleash resources to bring home our jobs, and stand up to Donald Trump from a position of strength? Now, on that subject, I know a lot of people are worried, angry, and anxious, and with good reason, as a result of the president's unacceptable threats against our country. You worry about your job and the sovereignty of our nation, and you're angry at the feeling of betrayal that these unacceptable words and tariffs have made us all experience. I share your anger, and I share the worry for our future, but I also draw great resolve in knowing that we can transform the anxiety and anger into action. First of all, let me be clear. We will never be an American state. We will always be a sovereign and self-reliant country. The action we must take is to become that nation that's strong, self-reliant, and sovereign, capable of standing on its own 2 feet and standing up to the Americans. We will stare down this unprovoked threat with steely resolve because, be assured, Canadians are tough, we are hardy, and we stand up for ourselves. I will protect Canada, and I will always put our country first. But before I tell you how, let me tell you why. This country's given me everything I have.
Where have I heard that before?
Okay. Right?
Parroting. Mimicking, parroting. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
The gray fair.
Do you think he's doing this with Carney?
Dude. Remember when I said single white female?
Yeah.
Come on. Creepy, 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 creepy chameleon. Like, this is not cool. Okay.
There's about a minute left to go on this, though.
Yeah. Until I get to the 147?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you just stopped that. Okay.
I had
you
to,
just
because
that was the needle scratch.
It was just, that's exactly what that was.
That's why I told you to put a pin in that one yesterday when I said, Mr. Carney's line, and brought attention to it, that he's been saying that from the beginning, because some guy I guess somebody decided he liked that line, so he just took it.
Oh, the man has never had an original thought in his head.
I know my story wouldn't have been possible in any other country in the world.
Yes, it would have.
I was born to a 16-year-old single mother who put me up for adoption.
I thought she was 18.
That doesn't matter. You say, listen to his story and tell me this could not have happened in Germany or in Sweden or in Turkey or in...
Yeah.
I was born to a 16-year-old single mother who put me up for adoption to 2 school teachers. But they taught me that in Canada, despite humble beginnings, I could achieve anything I wanted. I got into politics to protect and preserve that promise. And that promise means that if you work hard, you get a house, a nice house, on a safe street, protected by brave troops.
Just wanted to let you know, as we listen to Pierre Poilièvre, that Mark Carney is now inside Rideau Hall, asking the Governor-General to dissolve Parliament and officially launch this election campaign. He will come out shortly to speak to Canadians. Let's go back now and listen to the Conservative Leader of Canada.
Housing.
I included that one in the clip because Petty is my favorite color.
Well, it's the protected by troops.
Under our proud Canadian flag on a safe street. He says that a lot, by the way.
Troops?
Yes.
That would indicate he wants the military to patrol our streets.
I'm not going to say that he says that that's what he wants, but the way that it is formulated, he leaves himself open to that accusation. I mean, we want Canada in general to be protected by our troops. Right, I will grant him that grace, because that would. I think he's got enough problems on his campaign that he doesn't need to add that one. If he's going, hey, I've got all these problems, let me distract with, hey, how about troops in our streets? It's going really bad. If you need troops in our streets to distract from what else is going on. So I will grant him the grace that that's probably not what he meant. But yes, the way that that is framed is someone could choose to interpret that way. And
maybe that's not what he meant, but he's reading. He's reading a written text.
Exactly. Now, here's the does anything about that delivery or presentation convince you that he is going to protect or defend Canada when he says it?
Well, no, but it's because I know who he is.
No, but there's right. If I'm delivering that speech, I will protect Canada. I will I will protect Canada. I will defend it from the beep bop boop boop beep bop beep boop. It's robotic.
The line in there that kills me, the promise of a home. I'm sorry, nobody promised me that. Nobody promised me that. If I want a home, I have to earn the money to do it. And in today's economy, it's damn near impossible. But that has nothing to do with the federal government, because housing went up like, what, 250% under his government's watch?
Mm-hmm.
But he won't lay any claim to that. Now, I'm probably off with my numbers there, but I know that housing went way up under the Harper government. because they sold off a lot of rent-controlled buildings to private developers.
Yep. And remember, one of his
up housing costs.
Yep. And remember, one of his policies is to sell government land, not lease government land, but
Correct.
sell it to developers, which sets the stage for taking the Greenbelt national.
Amongst other things, creating the new feudal system.
Yeah.
Remember,
So,
in Ottawa, there are 4 companies that own 85 to 90% of the rental stock. 4 companies. There's about 6 big ones, and 4 of them own most of everything. It's the new feudal system.
So, right now I'm watching this, and I'm seeing someone running a loser's campaign.
He knows he's
going first to be relevant and make sure that the media doesn't miss you on opening day, and then launching alone.
I think Linda's comment here is really good. He should be able to tell his own personal story without reading it from a paper in front of him.
Right? Launching alone, within the first 30 seconds talking about the other guy rather than himself.
Yeah.
And again, doing the Canada's abusive boyfriend thing, telling us how we're Brooklyn. In the first, it's the start of the election campaign. This is you saying hello to those who haven't. And it's like, hi. When you're at a party and you're in a little circle and there's 5 people talking like this, and there's somebody that comes in and like this, and then starts whatever it is that you're talking about, comes like, oh my God, my knee is just so, and it's just like, this is not how you say hello.
Well, something that one of the first things I learned when I was a sales rep for a long time, and one of the first things they taught me in sales, they said you have the charisma and the natural ability to have a discussion with people, but there's things you need to learn how to do. Control your body language, make eye contact. Also, you should never him, ha, and most importantly, never speak about your competitor ever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if your client or your possible client brings up the competitor, speak about the competitor in a polite and respectful manner and move back on to what you're trying to sell. He doesn't do that. Ever. You know what? He's the kid in the sandbox who's whining and crying because he's not getting his way.
Yeah. Now, in politics, there's somewhat of a limit because you are trying to establish some contrast like this, and you're pointing out other people's
He's been doing this for
flaws,
3 years, though.
But this is not it.
No.
This is not it.
He immediately starts to speak about the other guy right away. He's been his consultant for 5 years. Well, that's not actually true.
Yeah.
It's not true. He worked as a consultant, then he left, then he came back. There was a gap of about 4 years when he was working for Brookfield, amongst other things. So he can't even get his facts straight. He is incapable of speaking without lying.
Yes, indeed. All right, so let's go to the next clip here.
Got it.
148.33, because why not also sprinkle in some casual anti-Semitism?
What's more, our nation is more divided than ever before because the liberal, radical, post-national, borderless, and globalist ideology has weakened our nation. Now, desperate for a 4th term, Liberals have replaced Justin Trudeau with his economic advisor and hand-picked successor, Mark Carney. But a Liberal is a Liberal is a Liberal. It's the same old Liberal MPs, the same Liberal ministers, the same Liberal advisors, the same Liberal elites, the same broken Liberal promises of the last 10 years.
Broken promises. Didn't the Prime Minister fulfill 92% of his promises? I read that in the National Post. How are they broken if 92% of the promises were fulfilled? Again, the National Post. Not exactly a liberal rag. Unbelievable.
I know.
Wow. And his globalist, you know what that is?
Yep.
That's
why I said
whistle. It's anti-Semitic dog whistle. That's what it is. It's an anti-Semitic dog whistle. Next clip is ready to go, sir.
All right. Oh, by the way,
Energy.
Sorry. Notice how happy he was at the end when he said a liberal is a liberal is a liberal. That's another line he stole. Yeah. Remember in 2015 when Justin Trudeau said a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Again, no original thoughts, man.
None. Zero.
He's very pleased with
and
himself.
Home building. We'll lower taxes to bring home businesses and to make sure Canadians bring home more of their paychecks. And that starts with axing the carbon tax, the entire tax, a tax that the Liberals, with Carney's enthusiastic support, brought in for 7 years and increased over and over. A tax that is still in law, despite the government hiding it from gas stations for the 30 days leading up to the election. A tax they will bring back bigger than ever before if re-elected. And on this point, Mr. Carney and Mr. Trump are in total agreement. They both want...
Oopsie.
Freudian slip.
Freudian slip. Freudian slip.
Want to tax Canadian industry. Mr. Carney's carbon tax and Donald Trump's tariffs will destroy Canadian industry, pushing jobs south. But I won't let that happen.
How?
How?
How? Then he goes into a list of a bunch of things he said before. And then he tries to close it off. So, hey, bring it home, Pierre.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
In Iqaluit, and we will back our veterans to ensure they have good lives after they fought for our country.
Oh, please.
They remind us that Canada is tough, rugged, strong, hardy. We don't go looking for a fight, but we're ready if one comes looking for us.
You do.
None of this will be easy, but making and defending Canada wasn't easy either. And with change, there's hope. So I say, to the struggling single mother who worries how she will feed her kids, hope is on the way. To the 35-year-old, still living in mom's basement but dreaming of owning his own place and starting a family, change is on the way. To the seniors choosing between eating and heating. And to all those who wonder what happened to the country that they knew and love, change and hope are both on the way. A new
change and hope, like hope and change. So he's stealing from Obama now.
Everybody's greatest hits. It's like a K-Tel album.
It really is. All right, we'll keep going.
New Conservative government will restore Canada's promise. The promise that anyone from anywhere can do anything, that hard work gets you a great life in a beautiful home, on a safe street under a proud flag. To preserve that flag and uphold its promise, we must work together, fight together, and win together for our people, for our land, for our home, for Canada first, for a change. Thank you.
Oh, God, help us. Lord, that's the pitch, folks. Compare and contrast with yesterday. That's the pitch. It's gonna be a long 36 days. Oh my God. That's bad.
It's going to be difficult to try and follow this every day for the next 33 days or 34 days or whatever the hell it is.
Thank you, Mark Carney, for making this one short.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Are you inspired? Are you in awe? Do you sense leadership, strength, vision? My beaver run dry. I'm sorry.
Just no. Just
Right?
Just not an original thought. Can't tell us the story of his own life without reading it from a sheet of paper in front of him on the podium.
Like, for the guys who are fans of his, like, seriously, how can you see this? And like he's the best we've ever had on offer. Like, he's the best thing on. My God. He's going to really accomplish anything, really.
Well,
there's no this is the first. He's not excited. There's no drive. There's
nothing. There's nothing. So yesterday he I don't know if you saw that, he tweeted out that Mark Carney's a coward and won't debate with me in French. Well,
yeah.
No, actually, he's committed to the 2 official debates, the English and the French one.
Yeah.
The third one, which is a TFA debate.
TVA,
sorry.
Yeah.
TVA. He agreed to, and then he decided no, because it's going to cost $75,000 per candidate.
It's a shakedown.
Yeah. Like, no.
I was watching Power and Politics yesterday. The whole panel was there. I have never heard of a network saying, hey, we want to host a debate. Pay us to come and debate on our network.
Yeah.
That is a terrible precedent to be setting.
Yeah. Very.
Now, the Bloc Québécois said, yeah, we're happy to do that. So, they're going to try to create an issue in Quebec now. We just want to. Now, if Mark Carney is smart, the Liberal team is smart, what they will do is they will approach another network, maybe a smaller network, and say, hey, we're willing to debate on yours if it's a no fee.
How about our network?
Or go to an organization, sometime like Monk School Debate or something like that they have in Quebec, and propose a debate, another one in French, and invite everyone else to come. But now he absolutely has to go on Tout le monde en parle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, agreed.
For sure. If he's going to skip the TVA thing. But TV, like, I am sorry, TVA. Mais ça se fait pas, ça n'a pas d'allure. It's just
not cool.
That's just like, come on. Franchement.
Well, look,
after
this.
We're happy to host a debate, but pay us to be on our... No.
After his defeat in the federal election, and this is my prediction, after his defeat in the federal election, under a Liberal majority, a thin Liberal majority, this is my prediction, they will have a leadership convention. Pierre Poilièvre will be gone, and Doug Ford will be the new Conservative leader.
Or Jason Kenney.
Seems
he's got some designs.
Ford really wants the job, and he's
so did Jason.
for it. Yeah, I know Jason does too. Yeah.
Jason's thirsty.
Here's the thing. I would prefer Ford over Poilièvre or Kenney, because I know how corrupt he is.
Gotcha.
I know exactly who I'm dealing with, because Doug is not that smart. He's not nearly as duplicitous, and he's a puppet. He'll do whatever you tell him to. But the other thing is, Doug will do the right thing if you put pressure on him, as evidenced by the Greenbelt. There's no good choices available for the Conservatives. Period.
It's an interesting hypothesis.
Well, we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong, but
But it's like, again, if you had to choose FMK type thing,
he's the least most dangerous as far as I'm concerned.
That's not saying much.
No, it isn't.
Again,
let's get to his Q&A. We'll get to his Q&A here.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a...
Thank you. We'll now take questions. On va maintenant passer aux questions.
Good morning, Mr. Poilièvre.
Good morning.
Tasker from CBC News.
Thank you.
Do you respect Donald Trump?
I respect the office of the President of the United States, and we have to show respect to other world leaders. The bottom line is the Americans buy 75% of our goods. So whoever's the Prime Minister is going to have to, at some point, deal with President Trump. He was only elected a short time ago. He's going to be around for 4 more years. You can be respectful and firm, and I believe we have to be both. I will insist the president recognize the independence and sovereignty of Canada. I will insist that he stop tariffing our nation. And at the same time, I will strengthen our country so that we can be capable of standing our own 2 feet and standing up to the Americans where and when necessary. That's what it means when I say, let's put Canada first for a change.
I don't believe him.
Nothing about that sounded confident. And again, do you respect Donald Trump? I respect the office of the president. That's boilerplate answer.
That's
this
a
type of
standard
situation.
answer.
It's
Period.
a standard
Right?
answer. That's fine. I have no problem with
And
that.
it's the correct answer, right?
It's the correct answer, right? Because
I
anything
don't
else
have to show
avoids anything else brings up problems. But we can be respectful and firm. Must acknowledge our sovereignty. Who is saying that? Who's the one that's saying the no talkie talkie till the 51 state stoppy?
Yeah.
Who's firmly and respectfully saying?
And let's remember on March 8th of this year, Danielle Smith said, Pierre Poilièvre believes in low-cost energy. He believes that we need to have low taxes. Doesn't believe in any of the woke stuff that we've seen taking over our politics for the last 5 years. But I would say, on balance, the perspective that Pierre would bring would be very much in sync with, I think, the new direction in America.
In sync. Bye, 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 bye. Okay, next one. It doesn't get better, kids. Just letting you know. That's why I say human curse Splatfest.
It's just
okay.
I'm like, this guy is just flailing.
Yep.
Wacky. What was it? Wacky
Wacko.
arm flailing tube man.
Oh yes.
Wacky inflatable arm flailing tube man.
The first is all about.
Next question.
Mr. Poilièvre, hello, Stephanie Levitz, the Globe and Mail.
Good morning.
Good morning, almost afternoon. Premier Danielle Smith, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, has asked the U.S. administration to hold off any further action because it benefits the Liberals politically right now, and says that your direction would be more in sync with the U.S. administration's direction. Do you think her comments are appropriate, and what is your response to them?
Well, my response is that the president has said that he thinks it would be easier to deal with a Liberal, and with good reason. The Liberals have weakened our country. They've blocked resource projects, raised taxes, driving our jobs south into the hands of the Americans. $500 billion of investment has fled our country. They blocked a pipeline that would have allowed us to go around the American market. They've killed LNG liquefaction plants, forcing us to sell all of our natural gas.
Excuse me? Killed them? They're under construction right now.
To the Americans at huge price discounts. They've weakened our military and our borders. All of that plays into the hands of President Trump. He's been very blunt that he wants a weak Canada that he can target. And Liberals, after the lost Liberal decade, have made our economy and our country weaker and more divided.
I did not hear anything about Danielle in that answer.
No, of course not. He's not going to address that.
Curious. Her demands, when asked about her demands, they were very reasonable, but when asked about her doing whatever it is that she's doing, whatever the word for it is, but I will say treachery for the moment. Just nope. Didn't even announce that, and blah 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 blah. He has asked a question. Here, we'll do this. Here's Pierre's asked twice to talk about people.
Mm-hmm. Here we go.
He cannot.
He's incapable of it.
Une question, next question.
Yes, sir.
Monsieur Poilièvre, Boris Proulx, du
Merci.
Devoir, bienvenue à
Le
Gatineau.
Devoir
Donald Trump fait
Donald
peur
Trump
aux Canadiens.
is
Si on met de côté la question des
scaring
tarifs et son
Canadians
traitement, envers notre pays,
with his
juste les politiques
tariffs,
que Monsieur
but
Trump met de
simply
l'avant dans son
Trump's
pays, ça fait
policies
peur aux
being
Canadiens.
introduced in the U.S.
Qu'est-ce que vous
are
dites aux
scaring
Canadiens qui nous
Canadians. So
écoutent,
what do you
qui
say to
voient vos
Canadians who are
discours sur
listening
les
today
fonctionnaires, sur les
and who
médias,
hear
sur
what you're
l'aide
saying about the
internationale, sur les
media,
personnes transgenres
international
et d'autres
aid,
exemples,
transgender
sont
persons and
inquiets
so
des
forth, and who are
similarités
concerned
entre votre
about the
discours et
similarities
l'administration
between what you're saying and what the Trump administration
Je
is
suis
saying.
Canadien.
Okay, you can
Well,
cut it
I'm
here, Mr.
Canadian.
Grizzly, and then go
I
to
will put our country.
20106 to get the answer in English.
Okay, 106.
Yep.
Two,
And it will be followed by and it will be followed
Yeah. See what you're
and it will be
saying.
followed by another question in French that will be translated. So we'll keep going to there.
20106. All right, here we go. Yeah, I got it queued up, ready to go. Here we are. Just give me a sec while I get it back on screen here. So this is his response to that question.
Minister of Canada.
Thank you very much. Well, what we need to do is put Canada first for a change. You know, when I say that I'm going to cut taxes and unleash our resource production, bring home our jobs, that's bad news for President Trump, because it means we're going to be bringing back not only the investment the Liberals have driven south, but also becoming more self-reliant and sovereign to stand on our own feet and stand up to President Trump. That is how we put our country first, and it's how we bring real change to Canadians.
What does that have to do with protecting the trans community?
Or any other vulnerable person.
Or any vulnerable person in the country.
And vulnerable not only just because of like things with which they're born, but vulnerable because of tariffs, your jobs, your what none of this has anything to do. That people are scared. What do you do? This is his answer.
Well, I'm going to go back to the question because, and people are asking, could you go back to the question? I'm like, yes, I will, because I think it's important that we hear the question again. And I think this is where it starts. Yeah, there's the question. Okay, so here we are. Listen to the question again, and then we'll follow up with the answer in English, because it's one of those, what?
Okay, and then when we follow up with the answer in question, keep it going to the next, because there's a follow up in French, and then play the next answer. So because he's given a second shot at this
and blows it.
Thank you.
En français?
Évidemment, Mr. Trump préfère des libéraux.
Of course, Mr. Trump prefers the Liberals because the Liberals.
That's not the question.
No, where the hell is the question?
That's the beginning of the answer in French.
Oh, I had it at the wrong one. Sorry, it's 159. I'm at the wrong cue point. My apologies. My apologies. Wrong cue point. 159.38. Apologies. Okay, we'll try it again.
Confront President Trump from a position of strength.
Prochaine question, next question.
Yes, sir.
Monsieur Poilièvre, Boris Proulx, du Devoir, bienvenue à Gatineau. Donald Trump fait peur aux Canadiens.
Is
si on met de côté la question des
scaring
tarifs
Canadians
et son traitement, envers notre pays,
with his tariffs, but simply Trump's policies being introduced in the U.S. are scaring Canadians. So what do you say to Canadians who are listening today and who hear what you're saying about the media, international aid, transgender persons and so forth, and who are concerned about the similarities between what you're saying and what the Trump administration?
So we'll go to his answer in English because it's not an answer. This is just unbelievable. He doesn't even touch the subject.
To do as Prime Minister of Canada.
Thank you very much. Well, what we need to do is put Canada first for a change. You know, when I say that I'm going to cut taxes and unleash our resource production, bring home our jobs, that's bad news for President Trump, because it means we're going to be bringing back not only the investment the Liberals have driven south, but also becoming more self-reliant and sovereign to stand on our own feet and stand up to President Trump. That is how we put our country first, and it's how we bring real change to Canadians.
Thank you. Next question. Prochaine question.
Bonjour, M. Poilièvre, Christian Noël de Radio-Canada.
Radio-Canada.
Les gens dans la rue nous disent...
Bon matin.
Vous aussi.
Good morning.
Les gens dans la rue nous disent qu'ils cherchent
on the
un
streets
Canada
are
pour se
saying
protéger
that
de
they're
Donald
looking
Trump
for a Captain Canada to protect them
à Donald Trump.
and an
Comme
antidote to
l'expliquait
Donald
mon
Trump.
collègue Boris,
As my
certaines
colleague Boris
politiques
just said,
dont vous faites la promotion
some of the policies you're promoting are similar to those put forward by President Trump, and people in the street are worried about that. How can you differentiate yourself from Donald Trump at this time in order to reassure Canadians? I haven't seen how your policies are different from those of Mr. Trump, and how can you reassure people that's the case if you are re-elected? Well, first of all, I've said I want the opposite of Donald Trump. He wants to impose tariffs on our industries and on our companies. It's the Liberals that want to do that. They want to tax our businesses, as Donald Trump does the same. Donald Trump wants to take our resources away from us at the lowest price. And it's the Liberals that have allowed him to do that by blocking the construction of pipelines and natural gas plants and expansion of our port facilities. The Liberals have worked in the favor of Donald Trump rather than Canada. And I want the reverse. I want to bring back the $500 billion that the Liberals drove to the United States. Because when I talk to people in the street, you talked about people in the street. Well, you know what they're saying? They're afraid of losing their jobs because our economy is weak after 10 years of the Liberals. They're afraid of not being able to pay for groceries or buy a house or a place to live. And I'm the only person offering true change.
Only
to
I
bring
can
back
do
the
it.
promise of Canada, to bring back jobs to Canada, and allow people to have a great future like our parents and grandparents had.
Only I can do it.
Again, he can only talk about dollars.
He doesn't. People don't matter to him, though. That's what I've been saying for years. Human beings do not matter to him unless they are human capital that can generate revenue for him and his oligarch puppet masters. That's it.
He's hearing from the people who are worried about losing their jobs. He's not hearing, just like he's never been made aware that there are more than two genders. He's never heard. Not aware. Can't speak to. Won't even attempt.
How many lies did he drop in that response, though?
Too many to count.
And I'm not being sarcastic. I'm being sincere. He lied on multiple occasions in that speech.
Yeah.
They canceled the liquid. No, it's under construction, and they're about to build a new one. The liquid natural gas plant, it's under construction. It should be online this year.
In July, I think, or something.
Yeah. And there's another one that they're about to start construction on. They built a pipeline. What are you talking about? The Keystone Pipeline? That was canceled by Joe Biden.
Northern Gateway was canceled, as we saw yesterday, by the fact that Horgan wouldn't let it
correct
cross the border. And Energy East, up until recently, and I don't know if that's still the case, or there's more openness to it, was Quebec that wasn't allowing.
Right.
So the Liberal government, then the Liberal government seeing all of this happen. Okay, fine, we'll frickin' buy the Trans Mountain. Let's make this happen. And then got done in 7 years or 7 or 8 years, that which you couldn't do in 10.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just so, it's not serious. It's not serious.
I'll skip over his follow-up in English because we heard the translated version of it, and we'll just go to the next clip.
Exactly. And then the last question was on foreign interference, right, with Danielle. that we showed yesterday. We can show it again if you like.
Hello, Mr. Poilièvre. Mark Ramsey with the Toronto Star. Your party was the target of foreign interference in the last 2 election campaigns, but you're going into this one without the security clearance necessary to receive briefings on this. When should Canadians expect you to get that security clearance?
Well, I've already had clearance. I was a minister in cabinet already, and the government has the ability to give me any information they think necessary. But what I'm not going to do is go into a process, a politically directed process by the Liberals that they use to decide what I can see and say and comment on. We know that the Liberals have made Canada a playground to foreign interference. They're the ones that have benefited from foreign interference. We also call on the government to have the foreign agent registry set up for this election so that Canadians know if any foreign or hostile regimes are intervening in our democracy, so that we can expose that and protect ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We did this yesterday. Not a word of that is true.
Not a word of that is true. It is not the Liberal government. It's not the Liberal government. It's not any government in power that does that. They are separate entities. CSIS, CSE, the RCMP, the Canadian military, D&D. They determine what is eyes only and secret. But let me just insert this here, sir. CSIS, this was published about 2 hours ago in the Globe and Mail. CSIS alleges India organized support for Poilièvre's 2022 Conservative leadership bid. Well, isn't that interesting? Agents of India and their proxies allegedly meddled in the 2022 election of Pierre Poilièvre as Conservative Party leader as part of a larger effort to cozy up to politicians of all parties, according to a source with top-secret clearance. The source said the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, which is CSIS, learned that Indian agents were involved in raising money and organizing within the South Asian community for Mr. Poilièvre during the leadership race, which he won handily. But the CSIS assessment did not indicate that this effort was done in a sweeping and highly organized way. The source said Mr. Poilièvre won in the first ballot with a 68% of the vote. CSIS also did not have evidence that Mr. Poilièvre or members of his inner circle were aware of the alleged actions of India's agents and their proxies, said the source, who has national security clearance to see top-secret reports. The Globe and Mail is not identifying the source because they were not authorized to disclose classified information publicly. CSIS did not share this information with Mr. Poilièvre, the source said, because he does not have the necessary security clearance to access secret documents and receive classified briefings on foreign interference activities in Canada.
Mr. Grizzly, can you repeat that, please?
Mr. Poilièvre does not have the necessary security clearance to access secret documents and receive classified briefings on foreign interference activities in Canada. Mr. Poilièvre is the only federal party leader who has declined an offer to obtain a security clearance.
Now, why would Pierre Poilièvre tell the entire nation something different?
Yeah. Sam Lilly, a spokesman for the Conservative leader, said Mr. Poilièvre's leadership race followed all relevant rules and laws. The public inquiry into foreign interference, which held hearings in 2024 and was headed by Justice Marie-Josée Hogue, cited China and India as the main foreign interference actors in Canada, saying they use diplomats and proxies to meddle in Canadian domestic affairs. In regard to India, Justice Hogue said in her final report in January that proxy agents clandestinely provide illicit financial support to various Canadian politicians in an attempt to secure the election of pro-India candidates or gain influence over candidates who take office. And remember what I said at the top of the show when we were queuing up some video? And I said, why is it he's always featured in the Times of India or Hindustan Times? Always, Mr. Poilièvre.
And why is it that for the first time in Canadian history, we had two people suddenly decide that they wanted to run for the Liberal Party, one of them who paid a visit to Prime Minister Modi on non-government business while an MP. Maybe that has something to do with the reason for which his nomination to be a candidate this time around wasn't approved. Can't say that that's the case, but maybe.
Well, just hours after it was announced that the government of India was involved in the murder of a Canadian and other violent and organized crimes in 2023, Pierre Poilièvre met with the now expelled Indian High Commissioner Sanjay Verma. And here's a photograph of them together.
Yep. We showed
This
you
isn't
that at the time,
conjecture.
too.
We're not making this up. This took place. Right after I read that into the record about that story from the Globe and Mail about how, yeah. I'm just saying where there's smoke, there's fire. Usually.
Yeah. This is not good. Is there more to the article, sir?
There is indeed. Let me continue. Justice Hogue, okay, I'll start this from a separate paragraph here. In regard to India, Justice Hogue said in her final report in January that proxy agents clandestinely provide illicit financial support to various Canadian politicians in an attempt to secure the election of pro-India candidates or gain influence over candidates who take office. Justice Hogue added, however, that the intelligence does not necessarily indicate that the elected officials or candidates involved were aware of the interference attempts, nor were the attempts necessarily successful. In a statement Monday, CISA spokesperson Lindsay Sloan said that the agency testified during the Hogue inquiry that there was no reason to believe impacted candidates would have been aware of the alleged support from India during the 2022 Conservative leadership race. Ms. Sloan said that the spy service had provided a classified briefing to Ian Todd, Chief of Staff to Mr. Poilièvre, about foreign interference threat activities and tactics, including allegations of interference in the leadership race. She said CSIS takes any allegations of foreign interference seriously and actively investigates. In a report last June, NCCOP alleged Beijing and New Delhi interfered in Conservative leadership races. NCCOP cited India's alleged interference in a Conservative Party of Canada leadership race, but the report did not identify whether this meddling involved Mr. Poilièvre or other candidates. When he launched his campaign in the federal election that was called on Sunday, Mr. Poilièvre told reporters that he doesn't trust the Liberals with a security clearance and noted the obligations of a clearance would restrict his ability to discuss and hold the government to account. Quote, "What I am not going to do is go into a politically directed process by the Liberals that they use to decide what I can see and say and comment on," he said. He said CSIS is free to brief him directly if the agency feels it's warranted. In testimony before the Hogue inquiry in October, then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau pointed to the NCCOP report on the 2022 Conservative leadership contest, criticizing Mr. Poilièvre for showing no curiosity or openness in trying to figure out what happened or whether someone was compromised or whether a foreign country impacted those leadership races. Justice Hogue has urged all federal party leaders to obtain national security clearances so that they can view top-secret intel that may affect members of their parties. Security clearances involve a rigorous process that includes background checks on family members, credit and criminal checks, and intrusive personal questions such as if they've ever used drugs. In a pre-interview transcript tabled at the inquiry, Mr. Trudeau told Commission counsel that his national security and intelligence advisor, Nathalie Drouin, showed him explosive intel about a political party. Although he did not name the party in the pre-interview, Mr. Trudeau told the inquiry on October 16th that he had received highly classified intel that Conservative Party politicians and members were involved in or were susceptible to foreign interference. Mr. Trudeau later acknowledged under questioning from the Conservative Party's lawyer that he had received secret intel about Liberals and members of other political parties who were also allegedly compromised by or engaged in foreign interference. In her final report, Justice Hogue played down the NCCOP's report's allegations that some parliamentarians had either wittingly or unwittingly collaborated with foreign powers. Although a few cases involving things like attempts to curry favor with parliamentarians have come to light, the phenomenon remains marginal and largely ineffective, she said. While the state's attempts are troubling and there is some concerning conduct by parliamentarians, there is no cause for widespread alarm. On Monday, Members of the Security Intelligent Threats to Elections, SITE is what they're known as, task force, set up to monitor foreign interference during elections and leadership contests, promised weekly briefings on foreign meddling during the 37-day federal election campaign. Vanessa Lloyd, Deputy Director of Operations at CSIS and Chair of the SITE Task Force, said security agencies are keeping a close eye on interference activities, particularly by China, India, but also Pakistan and Iran. We have also seen the government of India has the intent and capability to interfere in Canadian communities and democratic processes to assert its geopolitical influence, she said. Canadian and Canada-based proxies, as well as contacts in their network, are increasingly relied on to conduct Government of India foreign interference activities. Indo-Canadian relations went into a deep freeze in September 2023, when Mr. Trudeau accused agents of India and their proxies of being behind the slaying of Canadian Sikh activist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. On Thanksgiving last fall, RCMP Commissioner Mike Duhem linked Indian government officials to homicides, extortions, and coercion committed on Canadian soil. That day, Ottawa expelled 6 Indian diplomats, including High Commissioner Sanjay Kumar Verma. India staunchly denied the allegations and expelled 6 Canadian diplomats, sending bilateral relations into an even deeper freeze. Draw your own conclusions from that one, folks.
And for those who are wondering, because we talked about SITE, the Security and Intelligence Threats to Elections Task Force was created in 2019 as part of the plan to protect Canada's democracy, a whole-of-government and whole-of-society approach to safeguard Canada's elections and democratic institutions against interference. So one of those many things that Pierre Poilièvre Trudeau said, that when Pierre Poilièvre keeps on saying that the Liberals did nothing to help protect Canada, this is one of the many nothings they did, allegedly. Right, NSICAP and Syria, all these are Liberal Party creations here. The role of SITE Task Force is to safeguard Canadian federal elections from foreign interference by providing a clear point of engagement with the security and intelligence community for government partners engaged in related work, reviewing and focusing intelligence collection, assessment, and open source analysis related to foreign interference in Canada's democratic process in a coordinated manner, providing situational awareness for government partners, senior public servants, and other relevant partners, and promoting the use of intelligence assessment and open source information analysis in the protection of electoral processes through sharing with partners, or when respective mandates permit, take action to mitigate that threat. And recently, you heard from SITE when they issued a public alert that there was some stuff going on with regard to Chrystia Freeland, trying to spread some false stories about her during the Liberal leadership race. So that it was SITE that put out that assessment. And now people are wondering, well, that'll just be Justin Trudeau's people. No. The members of SITE are the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, the Communications Security Establishment, Global Affairs Canada, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. It's composition. It's and there's I believe there's 5 people on that committee. So, and I think 3 of them are from the intelligence services, and then 2 are from global affairs. I think there's somebody else too. I can't remember, but anyway. Yeah. So it's an important body. It's because what happened is that we wanted a body to exist to be able to tell us during an election, if need be, that there was something fishy going on, and we better not watch that information or take that information into account. That was not from the governing party or from any of the political parties.
Well, this statement here on the screen from Mr. Jim: security clearance can be summed up by the simple question, and I added the word simple, sorry. Can you be blackmailed into giving up secrets? That's effectively what they're looking for. That's why I say if you have massive amounts of debt, you're not getting your clearance because you're open to be blackmailed.
Yeah. Mr. Grizzly, we'll skip the Althea thing.
Okay.
Did you have it queued up?
Yeah, it's queued up.
Okay, then let's play it then, if it's queued up already. Yeah. She, in the coverage, she had something to say about what Pierre's launch was, and I'm just going to leave it to her because she was reading my mind.
The slogan has changed a little. It was Canada First. Now it's Canada First for a Change. The Conservatives are trying to wrestle back the change option as the change question. They want that to be the ballot question. You know, that is, Kate was right. I mean, that is the message that Pierre Poilièvre has been crisscrossing the country with over the past 2 years. That was, the Conservatives believed, a winning message. They believe that they can still win on that question, and that when you ask in public opinion polls, you see this, you know, people who are very worried about housing affordability, who are worried about immigration, they still rank the Conservatives ahead of the Liberals. But on the question of Donald Trump, the Conservatives rank far below Mark Carney. And so they're trying to combine these messages together. I was struck by how his message hasn't changed. Aside from the words, Canada is broken, everything else was part of his stump speech over the past 2 years. And in fact, some of the key words that we saw that kind of felt were directed more towards, you know, that voter base that could be attracted to the People's Party, words like globalist, like the open borders messages, that was still part of his stump speech. So I thought that was interesting. He's clearly decided to go a lot stronger. Electing the Liberals will make Canada weaker. That's quite a statement. But I was disappointed in his answer about Alberta Premier Danielle Smith. I think the news today from an interview she did about a week and a half ago with Breitbart News, in which she suggested that she had spoken to White House, her contacts in the White House administration, to ask them not to impose the tariffs because that would benefit the Liberals during the election campaign. She asked for a pause. And she suggested in that interview that Mr. Poilièvre was more in sync with Donald Trump and the administration in terms of his values and what the policies that he supports. I was surprised that he didn't distance himself from that. He didn't answer the question. He went in another direction. And so that question is, I think, going to continue to haunt him on the election campaign.
And Althea is right about everything. The only thing that wasn't in Pierre's speech was the line Canada's broken. Everything else is stuff he said before. Right. Now, that Danielle thing, however, that's becoming an issue because he's being asked about it a lot. I don't know if you found anything. I know there was a clip of him answering a question about that yesterday, and it was highly unsatisfactory. And unfortunately, I had not been able to relocate it after I saw it. But yesterday on the National, Mr. Grizzly, if you go back up to the top of the page where I said there was the placeholder, there was a little bit of a story about what's going on. They covered it. And Danielle got up in the legislature and tried a really interesting Jedi mind trick. It will be when you spot it, will be the second link, the 1134, and then we'll do Mr. Nenshi.
I'm looking, it's 1134.
Yeah.
In a second here. I
And
think that's the wrong clip because the clip I have is the National.
Yeah, that's supposed to be the National. Yeah.
Yeah.
At 1134, you say Adriana Arsenault introducing the segment.
Yeah, just give me a sec here.
Yeah. Check what Danielle Smith says here.
Now, Alberta's premier is defending recent comments she made to a right-wing media outlet and pushing back on claims that she asked the Trump administration to meddle in Canada's election.
Interference is one thing. Asking the U.S. to refrain from is actually the opposite. I do not want to see anyone interfere in our elections.
Earlier this month, Danielle Smith told Breitbart the threat of Trump's tariffs were boosting Liberal support and that she asked the U.S. to pause its levies until after the vote. Canadian officials said today Smith's remarks do not qualify as election interference. Now, Donald Trump says the driving force behind his tariff agenda, well, those are...
Okay. Excuse me? I asked them not to do something so that it would increase the odds of a political result happening. But that is not interference. That's the opposite of interference. No. Asking somebody to do or not do something, either for the purpose of achieving a political result, is seeking interference. All right? Now, it may not be, according to the ethics or whatever, at a level that's going to require a sanction. But that is, you cannot go to somebody else and say, hey, don't do this because this could be bad for us, and say that that is not asking for interference. She's literally said, if I had asked them to do something, that would be interference. But I asked them not to do something. Not doing something is doing something.
Yeah.
Choosing to say nothing is saying something. Number one rule we learned in communications: you cannot not communicate. Even when you are trying to say nothing, you are saying a whole lot. Asking someone to do or not do something is asking them to do something. Somebody says, I only said it, I didn't do it. It's only words, not actions. The words are something you say. Saying something is doing something. it's all these like little weasel type things like this.
Yeah.
Right? She thinks you are stupid enough to believe that her going to the United States and saying, as Rob Russo on CBC Power and Politics made it quite clear, not asking her to stop the tariffs or to take them away or remove them, just to pause them for now. You can put them back in after the election.
Yeah. After my guy gets in, who will be in complete sync with you.
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that Danielle Smith does not like Canada. I'm pretty sure that Danielle Smith doesn't even like Albertans right now.
Well, it certainly seems like it by her actions. She loves Trump. Loves Trump. It's obvious.
How can you insult someone's intelligence? Like, would that work with your kids?
No.
Oh, mommy. I did not do that. Oh my God. Yeah. What did Mr. Nenshi have to say?
Oh, he eviscerated her. He didn't stab her in the back. He gutted her in public, as it should have been. It was beauty. It was a thing of beauty. I don't have the clip, though, I don't think.
It was the one on top. I think it's a small one.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah,
I'm not sure if it's a full clip or just a segment of one, but I think it's a segment of one.
Here we go. 53 seconds. It's all we need, though. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
The Premier plays fast and loose with Canada. This goes beyond the Premier's usual incompetence. This is antithetical to democracy. In her own words, caught on tape, she urged government officials in a foreign country to take a certain action in order to influence the results of a Canadian election. That at a moment when our nation is under attack, at a moment where the President of the United States says we're not a real country, where he threatens the sovereignty of our nation, Danielle Smith goes out in public wanting to be the center of attention, telling everybody, oh no, we want to cause a national unity crisis. I'm old enough to know just how fragile this beautiful nation that we built together. And I'm old enough to know that we built the most special country on earth here in Canada. And I'll be damned if I allow a careless, incompetent Premier to play with that.
Again, eviscerated her.
Yeah. And then she kind of doubled down afterwards. But again, doing that fun with words type thing where she said, like, I reiterate something like I reiterate that I would like these tariffs not to exist or something like that. And it's like, no, that's slightly different, isn't it? It was a subtle change in language, but it's not. But it's not the thing that she's saying now that she is hoping. I repeat that I would like to is not the thing that she said.
No.
On that call.
Well, and let's address the statement from Lori Sue. I'm not trying to be trite or smug. Yet Smith and Pierre Poilièvre truly seem a bit desperate and reaching right about now. They're trying too hard, backpedaling, outright lying, and their body language is audible. Well, about the body language, this is a comment from an episode from a few days ago. And this comment, it's short and sweet and to the point. And I'm not going to name the person who wrote it. I'm just going to read the comment in because it falls right in line with what Lori Sue is saying. And it says, on the piece about PP's changing nature, this may be more of my professional psychoanalytical therapeutic leaning, but he's clearly extremely uncomfortable in his body. When you watch Carney, you see a confident and capable presence. It's much easier to trust someone who seems comfy in his own skin. I've been watching Pierre Poilièvre over time, and age hasn't improved this. But in fact, it made it more pronounced. For a PM, this isn't good. Nothing against people figuring out themselves in the world, but at the level of leading a country, let alone a country through crisis, these details say so much. Right?
Yep. And I found the direct quote.
Oh, you did? Oh,
from Danielle. Excellent. Now that an election has been called, I would reiterate my hope that the United States would refrain from placing tariffs on their closest ally. That's refrain. That when I read that, it's like would refrain, period. But that's not what she asked.
No, it's not.
She didn't ask that they refrain, that they pause for now. She's trying to sell it as a virtue that she did this, like that phone call with Pawlowski.
Yep.
Too many coincidences are not coincidences. And Pierre's answers about what he thinks about what Danielle has done are not satisfactory. So he's already lost 2 days on the campaign answering questions about her. There are going to be a few more until he comes up with something better. Now, I'm just trying to figure out whether or not Danielle thought that she was trying to help Pierre by doing that, or whether or not she was trying to stab him in the front by doing that. Because maybe she too is interested in the federal race, seeming that her provincial career is about to be over soon. That AHS. Maybe she needs to recycle. Maybe she needs to throw herself once again into the great conservative recycling program. It's not like she hasn't benefited from it once, or twice. Twice, actually. Right? Because she was Wild Rose, and then she jumped, and then they lost. Then she did the radio thing, and then she jumped back in. And now we've got all these scandals and whatnot like this. So she's probably going to go away for a while at some point. And maybe she'd like to just try again federally, just like Jason did, right? He went away for a couple months. It's like, dude, we can still smell you. We can still smell you. It's not your time yet, please.
Bit of a narcissist. I'm sure you can hear the hammer drill.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry. It's construction nonsense. This is what I have to listen to all day. That's why I'm not been able to do any narration from home or try and do an ASMR with that shit going on.
Yeah. Jeez. So, yeah, Jason is not, it's not your time yet, but hey, he's working for Post Media again now. Working again. You want to make your big debut come back, and you take a job working with the Americans who are poisoning the well with disinformation, misinformation. Well, yeah, that tracks. That tracks for Jason.
Oh yes,
So yeah, not impressed. One last little thing, Mr. Grizzly. There's a little bonus there with regard to the security clearance. Some shots fired.
Which clip do you want to hear?
Oh, sorry. Again, sorry. Yeah, I had to send you back down after the Pierre section. Right at the end, there's a big thing that says bonus.
Oh,
right?
that one. Okay, just give me a sec
that one.
here. Just give me a sec here. I got lots of things on the screen that I have to click.
No, that's my fault. I sent you back up and down because Danielle sort of came in. So I figured since we had it, I'd slide that in.
The house?
They're right under Althea, bonus right on top of block B. It's a link.
Oh, right. I think I have it up, yeah.
There
Yeah, I've got that up already. Yeah, I had that up and ready to go.
Okay.
I wasn't sure which one. That was what I was going to throw to, actually.
Okay, well, there you go. We were reading each other's minds.
But you're going into this one without the security clearance necessary to receive briefings on this. When should Canadians expect you to get that security clearance?
Well, I've already had clearance. I was a minister in cabinet already, and the government has the ability to give me any information they think necessary. But what I'm not going to do is go into a process, a politically directed process by the Liberals that they use to decide what I can see and say and comment on.
Your party was...
So that whole thing, I'll read the headlines for those sitting at home listening to the audio. Because what was taking place was, as he was starting to answer, headlines from different sources were popping up. And the first one that pops up is from iPolitics on October 18th, 2024. Poilièvre's approach to national security is complete nonsense, says experts. The second one from Global News, January 31st, 2025. Turning down this information is a disservice to himself, his party, and ultimately Canadian voters. Jessica Davis, president of Insight Threat Intelligence and former official at Financial Transactions and Report Analysis Center, NCSIS. Serious players involved here making these statements. June 3rd, 2024, from CBC News, 2 specific instances where People's Republic of China officials allegedly interfered in the leadership races of the Conservative Party of Canada. That's from the NCCOP report.
And speaking of election interference, Canada and people who can be influenced, I do hope that if we are deciding to get rid of Pierre Poilièvre, we are also deciding to get rid of citizens of Durham, Jamil Javani, the vice president's personal Canadian couch cushion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, that writing, you could paint a rock blue and call it conservative when we get elected, but maybe people are waking up. Because again, people I've known who have voted conservative their entire life, in the last 2 elections voted NDP, because they absolutely would not cast a vote that would help the Liberal Party because they hated Trudeau. And I'm like, that's okay. You have your reasons. But thankfully you didn't vote for the party that calls itself conservative. These are lifelong conservatives who said there's no conservative party anymore. The party left me, I didn't leave it. That is the Reform Party under a new name. And we keep telling people, the only ones saying it. Lots of people have been saying this because the Progressive Conservative Party of Canada has been dead for 22 years. It doesn't exist as a federal party. There's the Conservative Party of Canada and they call themselves social conservatives. What? That's awful Gileadian, don't you think? Just my take.
Man.
I know.
How much endurance do you have, Mr. Grizzly?
Well, I was going to make some coffee, so that would give me more endurance.
All right.
So what do you want to...
well, because I'd like to go into Mr. Singh.
Okay, I've got it ready to go.
Before you do that, do you have any final impression? Like, this is everything Pierre.
Mm-hmm.
That's like happened since Friday. Right? Impressions? Because I'd really like to hear your take.
Well, I'll give you a few things. First off, I want to read this statement from, it says, opinion for Doug Ford. Mark Carney will always be a better partner than Pierre Poilièvre.
Doug Ford said that?
Well, no, it says it's an opinion for opinion for Doug Ford.
Gotcha.
Doug Ford didn't say that.
Okay.
Although, truth be told, I could hear Doug Ford saying that because he does not like Pierre Poilièvre. He doesn't like him.
Nope.
He likes. Look, I know they're on opposite sides of the aisle here, but he had a working relationship with former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. They actually did like one another.
Yep.
And you could see at the start of the pandemic how Doug Ford was fully in Justin Trudeau's corner. I mean, as time went on, things changed, but again, they had a good working relationship. And I think he would have a better working relationship with Mark Carney than he would Pierre Poilièvre, because as you well know, Pierre Poilièvre is tightly influenced by the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church, which is a bunch of evangelical individuals. I'm trying to be polite here.
Allegedly, yes.
And I don't agree with any of their teachings or ways. There are many people who have podcasts who used to belong to that particular religious sect who have some rather negative things to say about them. We're not going to get into that, but let's just say Mark Carney would be more in line with the values that Doug Ford has than Pierre Poilièvre. Doug Ford has actually been to Pride.
Once.
But he went.
Yes. Yes. He did go once. He did go once.
He did.
Yep.
That's saying something. Now, his brother never would, but Doug Ford did. Again, I don't like Doug Ford, but if you got to pick the lesser of two evils, I think he'd do more for Canadians to keep Canadian jobs here than anything else. Now, he would cut programs, he would cut social services. We know this. Pierre Poilièvre just promised a 15% tax cut.
Did he?
Well, let's just see. How would he do that? Okay, say goodbye to dental care, pharmacare, $10 a day daycare, the school lunch program, the child tax benefit. What else are you going to cut? Oh, that thing he calls a tax, the Canada Pension Plan.
Well,
you got 15% tax savings, but you're 10 times as much for everything else. Not 10%, 10 times.
Yes. Mr. Grizzly, this would be a great time to go get a coffee before we get to Mr. Singh, because you actually just gave me a perfect segue to talk about the dueling tax cuts.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to go make some coffee. I'll be back. I have to make some. There's none left, so I'll be back in a couple minutes.
All right. Kids Cubs, it would appear that one of the things that some people are framing it as Mark Carney went first with the tax cut. We don't really know, and it really doesn't matter, because Mr. Carney has been talking for a bit about, thinking about people, particularly younger Canadians, and how they need some specific help, and that there would be a tax cut of some kind, middle-class tax cut. And then Pierre Poilièvre also said that there would be a tax cut. And, well, I mean, both him, it's nothing but tax cuts, right? It's like cut the carbon tax, cut the capital gains tax, and now, cut industrial carbon pricing and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things, and he wants to, cut down payroll deductions and that type of stuff. But all of a sudden, when he did that big sort of Canada First rally rebranding type thing, there was a big, bold, beautiful, bring it home tax cut. And then, well, he announced it. And when he announced it, it was like 15% tax cut. And everyone said, ooh, ah, oh. And then Mark Carney announced his. Well, sorry, the other way around. Mark Carney announced his, the 1% off the 15% rate that's paid for people that make between the basic allowable amount and around $57,000. And Pierre Poilièvre, and it's a big measure. I mean, it affects about 22.5 million people. So and there will be a cost to that, of course. And the cost of that is about $6 billion for the Liberal plan. And then Pierre came up with some details and he said it was going to be 15%. But it's not actually 15%. It's cutting the 15% rate by 15%, which actually ends up being about a 2.25% tax cut off the rate. So basically, Mark Carney says that he's going to drop the rate from 15 to 14% and says, I will drop it by 1%. Pierre Poilièvre is going to drop the rate from 15 to 12.75%, which is a drop of 2.25%, but says he's giving you a 15% cut. That's like him saying like the carbon tax is going up 23% when it's going up 3.7 cents. He's using regular number and percentages and then seeing which number is the more impressive and then using that and trying to trick you. So right now there are a lot of people around the country thinking, wow, Mark Carney's offering me a 1% tax cut and Pierre's offering me 15. I'm going to vote for Pierre. But he's not offering 15. He's offering 2.25 by 2027. Fully phased in by 2027, so it's not all going to come out once. Which also creates a situation where, for example, the Liberal government could institute that 1% tax cut and then decide the following year that they need to do another 1.25, and boom, you're in the exact same spot. We also have a tendency of certain conservative governments to promise tax cuts are coming and then getting elected and say, oh, we can't afford to do that right now. So we have to watch for that as well when it comes to this particular promise. But it would seem to me that if you are cutting taxes by 2.25%, a tax rate by 2.25%, but are selling it as a 15% cut, that might not be the entirely truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth in the least confusing way delivery of that promise. And again, why would you go out of your way to try to make people believe that you are offering them a 15% tax cut when it's 2.25? Why would you directly make a decision to formulate things in such a way that could cause people to be confused? It goes to character. Now, people are commenting that it's a bold move for Liberals to be the first to go off to campaign on a tax cut, because that's usually conservative territory. The conservative plan will cost about $14 billion. The Liberal one will cost about $6 billion. So right now, again, you might have the feeling that, well, gee, tax cuts, Pierre wins. But in this particular context, where we're talking about, we're going to have to need to build some stuff and we don't want to blow too much of the money. The tax cut, basically saying that you're going to take $14 billion out of the treasury right now, when you may have to be putting a whole bunch of money into programs to support people whose jobs and industries who might be affected if a tariff war actually does come to pass, seems like an interesting choice. So at this moment, oddly enough, there actually is a case to go out on campaigning and saying that a $6 billion a tax cut that would cost $6 billion is actually probably better than one that would cost 14, because while we need to cut taxes, we need to maintain some balance and keep some powder dry. It's it's going to be an interesting thing to see these battle of the dueling tax cuts. I'm not sure if at the end of the day it's going to make too much of a big difference, because the issue so much is Trump and who's going to best defend. So it could just be simple case of, well, no matter who gets in, we're going to get some type of tax relief. One's not as good as the other, but some tax relief. And the guy that I trust more to make sure that the economy keeps running is probably better than just a bigger tax cut, and some guy I wouldn't really trust to do that. Pierre's, the conservative tax cut, says that it will bring in about $900 per year when it is fully in effect in 2027. The Liberal tax cut would bring about $400 a year, or about $825 for a dual income family. Pierre says he would cut bureaucracy, consultants, handouts to insiders, all vague. And specifically, of course, we know he wants to cut the CBC, and he did mention foreign aid again, cutting foreign aid again. So he also says he plans to release a costed platform. I'll believe that when it happens and it lasts, and it's actually a credible document. For the Liberals, they say that they would not touch transfers to provinces or individuals. They would slow the rate of growth of government to help pay for the tax cut, cap the size of the civil service, and boost productivity by using, in many ways, including using AI, and try to generate some savings that way. I'm just... When you go out of your way to not be clear, because again, you're saying something about the respect you have for the people whose vote you're asking. You're saying something about the respect you have for your audience. .25% is not 15. If you do the math, 15% of 15%, 15% of 15, you get 2.25. There's absolutely no reason to say 15% of 15 unless you're trying to confuse people. I just don't. You got one guy that's telling you 1%, straightforward. This is what you get. Another guy named is break out a calculator to figure out how much your tax cut's going to be.
Obfuscation and misdirection.
Again, another man who's obsessed with size. But he's not like Trump.
No. Well, Mark Carney is making an announcement in Halifax as we speak.
Yes. Mark Carney's interesting. He started out in St. John's, Newfoundland, and then was in Gander. Now he's in, so I don't know if he's just going to do like 37 days, like just slowly crossing the country. He's going to have to, or something. I'm sure there's going to be some jumping around, but he's definitely starting out in Atlantic Canada. Pierre spending the first 3 days in the GTA, which is really telling.
Yes.
And Yves-François Blanchet, of course, was in Quebec City because that's a little bit where if the Conservatives have any type of base in the province of Quebec, it's around the Quebec City area. So he's trying to make sure that he's kicking Poilièvre and the Nards down there.
Well, it's according to Mark Carney from this speech, I just got a couple of points here I can read in. It says, our military is still underfunded. Shipbuilding is creating good-paying union jobs for Canadian workers. Right. He wants new submarines for the Navy. They want to modernize the recruitment process to fill positions in the armed forces. The Canadian Coast Guard has a new mandate and equipment. They're going to start using drones. And this is the one that I really like. Canadian companies and suppliers will be used. We're no longer sending money south.
Yep.
We're going back to the 1950s when it comes to armament for Canadians. Mark Carney is old enough to know the story of the Avro Arrow and what was done to this country and the brain drain that followed. I think we're seeing, in large part due to Trump's efforts, all of his tariff talk and all of his annexation talk and all how he wants to take over the world and how he's in favor and in bed with Putin and Russia. A lot of countries are arming up again and doing it collaboratively with one another, of course, throughout Europe, as we will as well, because it looks like the Gripen might be the next aircraft we buy. We will fulfill the first 16 of the 88 that we're supposed to buy of the F-35s. Most other countries are canceling their orders of the F-35 or reconsidering it altogether.
And then, of course, like 47 said, maybe we should make sure that we can upgrade them somehow or something like that.
Yeah, he literally
maybe
said
not sell them, maybe not sell them the best stuff or something. Okay, way to kill your industry, buddy.
Carney also said he wants to hit the 2% NATO target before 2030.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. I mean, we're closer now than we've ever been. We're at what, 1.91, I think it is?
No, 1.39. I think
1.39. No, I thought we were higher than that. Anyway, I know it's higher than when it was under Harper.
We were zero. Yeah, we were just under 0.9 something under Harper, and this federal government has tripled spending, and brought us to about, I believe, the last number that we had is when either 1.39 or 1.43 or something.
Okay, I can't remember, but either way, we got a little ways to go. But it's only a little ways, really.
Yeah.
And I think we should meet that mandate. We've never met it ever. Time we do, especially now that we're considering. Well, didn't Trump just boot the guy who's the head of NATO? He wants to kick him. I can't remember the exact story. Somebody was telling me about. Pardon?
Mark Rutte.
Yeah,
Senior Secretary General.
He's being pulled out of NATO. Apparently, that's apparently Trump wants out of NATO altogether.
Okay. I missed that, so I can't speak to that one. Sorry. I don't know if Trump wants to pull the American people out of this or the actual Secretary General.
The Secretary General.
Okay. Used to be the leader of the Netherlands.
Well, and it's no, the head of NATO has always been an American general.
Okay.
Secretary General, the head of NATO.
The general, not the Secretary General.
Correct. The general.
Okay.
Yes,
military general. Okay.
It's always been an American, and Trump apparently wants to pull him out, which means he wants out of NATO so he can get closer to Russia. So we'll be collaborating with all the other NATO nations and trading with them. And remember, folks, there are 740 million people in Europe and 330 in the United States.
Yep. And just
numbers don't lie.
Yeah. And interestingly, whoever is going to be the government that wants to do that got a little bit of an assist from the bloc, because when Yves-François Blanchet was in the Quebec City, he was talking about a private member's bill that would force the federal government to prioritize domestic providers in federal government contracts. So they're going to get the support from whichever party goes ahead on that is going to get the support from the bloc on that type of thing. To finish off the dueling tax cuts part, when getting these numbers, right, don't make it as simple as he's offering me the biggest tax cut. Remember, you got to step back and do the full picture. You got to sit there and you got to look at column A, all of the things that the promises are going to add to my income. And then column B, all the promises, because there are things that are going to have to be cut, that are now going to be downloaded onto me to cover. Then compare A and B. Don't just compare the tax cut. Look at the full impact and then make your decision. Right? It's only day 2. There's more to come. But if you want to make your best economic decision, remember, certain things cost certain things. Everything's a trade-off. If you're doing one thing, you're necessarily not doing another. If you're paying for one thing, it's got to come out of somewhere. So don't just look at the tax cut. Make sure you actually do come out ahead. Because if you get another $900 a year, but you need childcare and they're taking that away, trust me, that's not a net benefit at the end of the year. That's a move that costs you. You traded something that has X number of $1,000 of value more for like $900. Not good, right? So make sure you do the entire math. All right, Mr. Singh. I am going to tell you, kits and cubs, let me put it this way. If you are someone who is on the left and really, 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 really buys into the message, right? The liberal Tories, same old story. They're both in bed for the billionaires, and that's all they care about. You're going to love this. But if you're anything but that, you're probably going to go, huh? And maybe even if you love this, you're still going to be going, huh? Because there are, I'm assuming, because I assume that our audience and our viewers are intelligent, that you are aware that there's other things going on in the world, and maybe this just might not be enough for the moment. But it really, really, really is reliving past glory and really, really, really wanting you to know that Carney is absolutely his plan is to help the billionaires, and so is Pierre's, and they are the ones that won't. And there really isn't anything else.
No.
Sadly.
Nothing.
Let's go.
In the promise of a country where if you worked hard, you can build a good life, where we look out for one another and no one gets left behind. That's who we are. That's what makes us Canadian. The things that we are most proud of as Canadians didn't just happen. They were not gifts from the powerful. New Democrats fought for them because you believe that if you get sick, you get care. So we fought for and won universal health care. Because no one should go bankrupt trying to pay a hospital bill. We believe that if you've worked hard all your life, you should be able to retire with dignity. So we fought for and won pensions. We believe that you have the right to join a union, so you can demand fairness and stand up to the boss. So we fought for those rights and we won. We believe that whoever you are, whether you were born here or you came here, whatever the color of your skin, whoever you love, or what pronouns you use, however you worship or what you believe, you belong, you are valued, and you have every right to everything this country has to offer. These are NDP values. These are Canadian values. That's the Canada I love, and that's the Canada worth fighting for. And when New Democrats are elected, that's exactly what we do. Even before Donald Trump started his greedy trade war, times were tough. And we fought to make things better for you and your family. Paid sick days and laws to protect you at work, that was us. Dental care, so you don't have to choose between living in pain and buying groceries, that was us. Pharmacare, so you can afford the medicine your doctor prescribes, that was us. Because we believe that the promise of Canada belongs to all of us. Let me tell you a story of Brianna. Brianna is a mom that I met in Edmonton. I met her in a park with her beautiful family. She's got 5 kids, single mom, and so she is struggling. So this is all she could do is to keep the roof over her head, to support her kids, and put food on the table. And so as a mom, she had to.
I thought Brianna was from Chilliwack.
No, that's Brianne from Chilliwack. Brianna is Brianne, who we had on our show.
Right.
Bree Day.
Thank you. Yes.
Is actually talking about someone we had on our show.
Someone we know.
Yes.
Okay. I'm like, wait a minute.
But that was
Brianne
my first
from
thing too. Yeah, it was Brianne from Chilliwack. This is Brianna from Edmonton.
Right. Okay, let's continue then, because this is interesting because we know her.
That I met in Edmonton. I met her in a park with her beautiful family. She's got 5 kids, single mom, and so she is struggling. So this is all she could do is to keep the roof over her head, to support her kids, and put food on the table. And so as a mom, she had to make some sacrifices. She had to make some tough choices. And one of the things that she had to do, given how expensive things are, is she could not afford to take her kids to the dentist. And she felt a lot of mom guilt. It's a feeling that a lot of parents understand, that feeling that you're not doing everything you can to take care of your kids. And so she felt that guilt until we fought for and delivered dental care for kids. That dental care meant the difference for her family. The first time that they saw a dentist was because of that plan we fought for. And she told me that her eldest actually turned out to have a rare condition that they caught early, and now he's going to have an awesome life. Her other kids were able to get dental care for the first time in their lives, and they're happier and healthier. And I can attest to that because I saw them in that park smiling and playing. I can remember that look of joy on their faces and that feeling that Brianna had, knowing that she had been able to take care of her kids. Brianna is who we fight for, and we will keep fighting for her and every Canadian.
All right. Let's pause there. All right. Very typical NDP fare relating to an actual case. A lot of past glory. I mean, there's only so. The NDP has a similar problem to the Republicans in the United States when the Republicans keep on saying we're the party of Lincoln.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Okay, yes, you're the party of healthcare, but and now what? Okay, and then healthcare, dental care, farmer care, all that kind of stuff. Yes, that was you, but
yes, it was. Alone. You didn't do it alone, though. No, you didn't, and you didn't force anybody, as you like to say. You didn't have enough seats to force anybody to do a damn thing.
Yeah. So, but hey, you got to work with what you got. Right? None of this is offensive or anyway, right? This is, like I said, in normal times, this would work.
Mm-hmm.
But we all know the temperature of the water we're swimming in. Right now, it just seems a little off for the moment. Let's keep going.
Second?
Yep.
I'll bring it back here. Whoops, I had the wrong cue. There we go.
549 there.
But today, that promise of a great future is slipping further and further away. I hear it everywhere I go. A mother sitting at her kitchen table, bills spread out in front of her, wondering if she can pay the rent or still afford groceries. A young couple scrolling through listings, realizing that owning a home is slipping further out of reach. A senior without a family doctor, waiting for the health care they need. And now, because of Donald Trump's illegal trade war, things are getting even more expensive. Thousands of Canadians are losing their jobs. The people who built this country are paying the greatest price, and that's not fair.
I have to interrupt for just a second. He is correct in what he just said, his illegal trade war.
Mm-hmm.
It is illegal because it's in violation of the trade agreements he signed in 2018.
That is true.
It's absolutely true. And a lot of people seem to forget that. This trade war that Trump has created is in violation of an agreement. The best negotiated, some are saying the best negotiated deal ever signed. We'll continue. Sorry, I had to make that comment.
They deserve a government that has their backs. You deserve a government that has your back, and we will fight like hell to make sure that happens. You deserve a prime minister you can trust to make decisions in your best interest, not to advance his personal wealth. And we know that someone who's going to be fighting in your best interest, that's not Mark Carney. He has spent his whole career serving the interests of billionaires, of shareholders, and CEOs. He makes decisions that benefit people like him. He's not our guy. Because anyone who profits off the crisis should not be in charge of fixing it. Right now, the people who built this country, the folks without multi-million-dollar portfolios, without blind trusts or hedge funds, the people who earn their living by showing up to work, who dream of owning a home.
Blind trust.
Mm-hmm.
A little stab at the Liberal leader.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Kind of rich coming from somebody who was independently wealthy before he became a member of Parliament.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, hold up a mirror and take a look into it. You drive a Porsche and you have a $15,000 Rolex. Now, I don't have a problem with the watch. I don't. See this one? You know what this is worth? What I paid for it and what it's worth are two different things. This is a 1996 Omega Seamaster professional chronometer, titanium. They only made it in titanium for 1 year. In 1996, this sold for $10,000. I did not pay that for it. I traded some equipment and $500 to a friend who wanted me to have it. What I'm saying is I don't have a problem with him wearing his Rolex. I have a problem with him taking a direct shot at the Liberal leader by saying blind trust when he's equally as wealthy. Pot kettle is what I'm saying. So the Rolex I don't have an issue with. We don't know. It might have been a gift. We don't know if he bought it. Pierre Poilièvre is a $125,000 Patek Philippe. That was a gift. I'm a watch guy, right? So
yep.
Pierre has about $500,000 worth of watches. I think 3 of them or 4 of them were gifts. The most expensive ones were gifts. Just putting that out there. Sorry, I know that was a bit of a tangent. I apologize.
Okay.
Raising a family and retiring with a modest pension, they're being abandoned. Mark Carney spent his career making sure the system worked for the most wealthy, not for you. While families struggled to pay rent, he was helping banks and investors profit off the housing crisis. When people needed relief, he made sure corporations driving up prices kept raking in profits. He cashed in while Canadians were struggling. Now he wants you to believe he'll fix the very things that made him and his friends richer. He won't fight for everyday people because that's not who he is. And that won't change now. And Pierre Poilièvre, his only solution is tax breaks for the wealthy, and that will cost you. He pretends he's on your side, but in the back rooms, he's cutting deals with the very billionaires, jacking up your rent and groceries. He posed in front of workers who had just lost their jobs, and he said nothing about fixing EI to help them pay the bills. Pierre Poilièvre talks about freedom, but he's only offering freedom for the ultra-rich, freedom for corporations to jack up your rent, freedoms for billionaires to avoid paying taxes, freedom for big corporations to buy up our healthcare. Where he has promised to make deep cuts, making wait times even longer, pushing more people into private for-profit clinics.
Just going to pause that right there because it ran a little longer than I planned. My apologies.
It's all right. Again, starts out by attacking the Liberals. I guess you would probably say in this case that's okay, given that they are in the lead. Want you to keep on going on this one, though, because it's like Liberals, then Pierre, again, typical type of stuff that you would expect. But again, it's like, it's just, they're helping the billionaires, they're helping the billionaires, they're helping the billionaires. Like, they seem to have no more depth. Even his opponents seem to have no more depth. He can't speak about them in any more depth than that either.
It's no secret that I like Jagmeet Singh as a person. I've been honest about that from the beginning. I like him as a person. Don't necessarily care for him as a politician.
Yeah. And right now,
because he keeps dealing from the bottom of the conservative deck of cards, and that's what I don't care for. I don't care for that kind of politics.
And the thing is that a lot of people will get up in arms, but Pierre and Jagmeet are very, 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 very similar when it comes to message discipline.
Yes.
And both of them are examples of how sticking way too rigidly to message discipline is not good.
No.
Will eventually trip you up.
Well, you know, the amount of folks are saying it's a shame Charlie Angus didn't win. It's a shame Charlie Angus is leaving and not sticking around to run for the next leader of the party. I think Charlie's getting out of politics so he can do more on the ground as a private citizen, much like Catherine McKenna when she left federal politics.
Yes.
She said, I can be more effective in the private sector.
Yeah.
And it's not a money thing in this case.
Yeah.
Sure, there's more money involved, but that's literally not why they're doing it.
Yep.
Charlie Angus is a punk rocker. He has no F's left to give. And if you've been watching him lately, it shows, man.
Yep.
He doesn't give a damn.
Yep. He's another person I would see end up as an ambassador, head of a commission or something like that.
Yes.
And he definitely would be appointed by someone across party lines. Let's keep going because there's we've talked about Carney, we've talked about Pierre, and now there's a hump. There's a pivot moment that seems, because right now there's one person he has not spoken of at all yet. Here we go.
He wants to gut environmental protections, handing more control to big polluters who put profits ahead of clean air and water. He would strip away supports that help Canadians make ends meet, forcing families to fend for themselves while billionaires get even richer. When times get tougher, he won't step in. He'll step aside. That's not leadership. That's not a plan that will build a Canada we can be proud of. Let me be perfectly clear. We will never be Trump's 51st state, not in name, not in values, not ever.
Huh? Can we pause that for a second?
What's that?
We're the party of healthcare. We're the party of this. We did pharmacare. We did this. Brianna's kids got dental. Aren't we great? Mark Carney's only going to help the billionaires. Pierre Poilièvre's going to the billionaires. We will never be the 51st state.
What?
Nothing that came before led to this let me be clear moment. There was nothing that came before that needed you to be clear right now.
There's no segue there.
There's no, just... Huh?
No segue there whatsoever.
Carney will sell you out to the billionaires. Pierre will too. Therefore, I must be clear that we will never be the 51st state. Did I miss something? I actually, when I was watching that, I went back to the beginning and listened because I thought,
Matrix?
Well, no, I thought like maybe sometimes your mind wanders or whatnot like this, or, and I wasn't paying attention. And I missed the reference to Trump or the USA or anything related to South up until that moment. Nothing, not a word, not a hint.
Yeah.
Just randomly thrown in.
ADHD? Because that's something I would do. Right, ADHD.
Right, but
if I'm not reading pre-selected notes, you know how my mind can work. So,
and look where, like, immediately after he says it, look where he goes.
I could never be a politician because I would tell too many people to fuck off.
Same here.
I really would. I really would. I know the art of diplomacy, but I really, at my age, I don't give a shit.
You would be able to tell everything just by the eye rolls.
I don't give a shit. I'm not trying to climb a corporate ladder. I'm entering into the twilight years of my working career. I'll be 57 in just a couple of months. Do you think I have any F's left to give when it comes to this? Charlie Angus and I are simpatico. I think Mark Carney, because he's played the diplomat for so long, will be a much more diplomatic than I ever would. But I have noticed that when he is confronted, he pushes back, but he pushes back in the correct manner.
Right.
He doesn't do the Poilièvre, well, he pushes back with, well, hang on a second here, and answers the question correctly.
Right.
And this is what is needed right now. I think I needed the country and the nation and the world needed Justin Trudeau for the time that we had him, because we needed that EQ. We needed that EQ.
Yes.
We really did. And I think him stepping down was the best thing he could do.
Yes.
And Mark Carney becoming the new Liberal leader was the best thing for the country. Yeah. And I think that he is, as I said time and time again, the right choice at the right time to steady the rough waters, to steady the ship in rough waters.
Yep. Different skills require different skill sets. Different times require different skill sets.
And I think he's the right man for it. I genuinely do. And that's got nothing to do with party. Like literally, he could have been head of the Green Party. And I said, that's the guy. If he was the head of the Conservative Party, I'd say that's the guy.
Yep.
It's got nothing to do with party in this instance.
Let's keep it going here.
Here we go.
Elbows up, everybody.
Who else is saying that?
And
I thought that was cute. Elbows up. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Everyone is.
Everyone's saying it. So I have no
issues. He's got the swag for that.
He does have the swag.
He's got the swag for that. It works.
And I won't let anyone in this election tell Canadians that the only way to beat Donald Trump is to become more like his version of the United States, where billionaires rule and everyday people pay. Now, I get it. Right now, it can feel like a storm is closing in on us. People are looking for shelter, for protection, for someone to keep them and their families safe. People who are afraid a Pierre Poilièvre government might make them think they have no choice but Carney. But this is like being told you have to pick between a leaky house, a house with a leaky roof, or a cracked foundation. One patched together with empty conservative slogans, the other rotting from the inside after years of liberals protecting the most wealthy. Now, those houses are not the same, but neither will hold up when the storm hits, because neither was built for you. People will tell you in this election that it's about who can negotiate with Donald Trump. I'm here to tell you the real question is, who will make sure you and the things that you care about are not on the table? When Donald Trump comes demanding concessions, who will say no to trading away Canadian jobs or the things we grow and build and ship? Who will stop them from bargaining with environmental protections just to protect corporate profits? Who will fight back when Mark Carney says we have to cut health care or pensions to keep investors happy? Who will stand up when...
Wait a second. What? Where did he get that?
He's playing to stereotypes. The banker will eventually say, "Hey, we have to cut grandma's oxygen tank. We have to make the next quarterly profit." That's what a banker does.
Sure, a lot of bankers do. I don't think that's who Mark Carney is as a human being.
But he's playing to the stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what he's got. Like you deal that you use the cards you got.
He's playing dirty politics here, and the NDP is not supposed to do that.
He's making the most of a very, very bad hand here. Like this framing here is an opportunity, right? There's two houses, they're not the same, but they're both not there, and because they weren't built for you. Again, it works, but does it work in 2025 right now, in this moment? It's good for, like I said, it's an interesting narrative, right? This is not the subject. The subject is not who's going to be best. It's who's, make sure these things don't even get put on the table. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I can go with that.
Yeah.
I could get that. That's a lane. I can go with that. But are you the guy? Let's keep going.
Okay.
Pierre Poilièvre says, You have to accept an American-style healthcare system where you pay more. Also, he can give tax breaks to billionaires. Only New Democrats can be trusted to look out for you. Donald Trump is showing us in real time what happens when billionaires and the people who work for them are in charge. Everything gets more expensive. Rights get stripped away, and regular people are left to clean up the mess, while the wealthy walk away richer. We don't need that here in Canada. We don't need that at all. We all know that we're in for a rough road ahead. Things are already tough. And at the end of the day, only New Democrats will fight to make sure you don't pay the price when things get harder. I'm running in this election to fight for you, not the billionaires. New Democrats have a strong and proud record of getting things done. When prices skyrocketed, we fought for relief. When people were laid off, we fought for jobs and better support. When corporate greed ran wild, we went after the billionaires like Galen Weston, Elon Musk, and Jeff Bezos. Because when families are struggling, when your job and livelihood is on the line, when prices are soaring, New Democrats choose you every time. The wealthy and powerful will never hand us change. They have too much to lose. Each victory for Canadians, for families, and for working and middle-class people, from pensions to public health care, was won because people like you fought for it. Billionaires don't stay rich by playing fair. They don't wake up one morning and decide to stop gouging you at the grocery store. They don't just decide to lower your rent or to raise your wages. That only happens when we demand it, when we fight for it, and when we win.
I'm not going to argue with anything he just said.
Exactly.
It's all true.
Yes.
Every word of it. Every word of it. Shall we continue, sir?
Yep.
Okay. I didn't know if we had a break set up there or not. That's all.
Yep. Just waiting for him to move to the Q&A. He's near the end there.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with everything he just said. I do. How's he going to go about changing it? And some of the things that he talks about are nonsensical in the sense that they're provincial matters.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows that. Healthcare is a provincial matter, funded at the federal level, but it's a provincial controlled matter. So unless you're going to attach strings to the monies that you give to the provinces for healthcare, you have very little say in it.
Mm-hmm.
Do not let the rich and powerful tell you that you deserve less. Do not let them convince you that in a time of crisis, you must sacrifice while they profit. Because when the storm hits, they won't feel it. They'll have golden parachutes, private clinics, and tax shelters. But for working and middle-class families, the only way life gets better is by standing together and electing leaders who will fight for you, not for the billionaires. That's what this election is about. That's what's at stake. We see what's happening in the U.S. Greed is tearing it apart. And those same forces are banging at our door. We can and we must fight back. We're not here to patch up a broken system for the next storm. We are here to rebuild it stronger, safer, and fairer for everyone. I believe that's worth fighting for. You are worth fighting for, and I'm in it for you. Thank you so much. Merci. Merci. Thank you. Thank you.
I do like their slogan, though, in it for you.
Yes.
I like that because it speaks to, I think, the average Canadian.
Yeah. And in French, it's well, du cœur au ventre. You know, just I have the fortitude, and I'm doing it with heart.
Kettlevant is heart out front basically is
heart in the center.
Heart
the ventre, but you'd like the ventre, your stomach.
Right.
But it's not like having your heart in your stomach in English,
No,
right?
no.
It doesn't translate
That's
the same
different.
way.
It doesn't translate well.
Yes, it doesn't translate well at all. It's an expression.
Completely different
Kettlevant,
meaning.
yeah, it's having the gumption and the courage and the passion, the zeal for it, right? Like this, and you mean it because it's in your core. The ventre in this case would be your core, not a literal translation to your belly. Fire in the belly. Okay. So let's put a pause there. Because now he's going to say it in French, so we're going to go to the Q&As. He's going full class war, right? Us versus the billionaires. Mark Carney's always worked for the billionaires. And again, right? Not always. Governor of the Bank of Canada, Governor of the Bank of England. Again, I guess you could say make the case, well, he's making national policy to help them before helping you. But I mean, he had a career, public and private service. He's gone back to both sectors. So actually saying his entire career was about making things better for billionaires, it's a little
2008 would like to have a conversation with you about that.
It's a little stretchier,
yeah,
than had he always been, like, let's say he'd been like the CEO of the Royal Bank for like
right. 2008 would like to have a conversation.
Yeah, it's a little stretchier. Well, I mean, by making things better in 2008, he did make things better for business people.
But for you and me,
better for
too.
everyone too. Exactly.
Again, rising tide.
Right. So it's a little stretchier. But again, like I said, right? If that's your thing, he's speaking to you. Right? There isn't much new that's being offered, though. He hasn't talked about, like, we plan to do this, we plan this. It's all about, like, we did this, we can deliver, we did this. But what are you going to do? There was none of that in there. Right. And that's why it's like a bit of an interesting speech. It's pretty much all framing. Right? Now, he needs to find a lane of some kind. Because unfortunately for him, he has not helped himself. That is true. But unfortunately for him, this is probably the most polarized election we are going to have in a good long time. It really looks like it's a battle between two sides and like this, and everybody else is going to be collateral damage along the way, party-wise. Right now, that's what it's looking at. So he's got to do the best he can. The Q&A here that starts is not good because it literally is an exercise in constantly rejecting the frame and pivoting to something else. Another thing that he seems to have common, Pierre, is not willing to answer a question, particularly if it's about himself.
I've got a really ancient puppy dog here. Sorry. Really anxious puppy dog here. I'm going to have to take her out shortly. Well, I'll throw this up for the Q&A, and I'll be back in a couple minutes. I got to go take care of something. So just give me a sec here.
Hi, I'm Christy Kirkup with the Globe and Mail. Mr. Singh, with all due respect, you are the most experienced federal leader, but you're going into this campaign considered the underdog. How is that possible?
Well, I'm very familiar and comfortable being an underdog. I think a lot of Canadians can relate to that. But what I'm looking at right now is I'm seeing a country where there's a lot of workers who are worried about losing their jobs. I hear people worried about the cost of living getting more expensive. And I know that folks like Pierre Poilièvre and Mark Carney would want nothing better than for the New Democrats to disappear. For us not to point out the fact that Mark Carney's first steps was to bring in a tax cut for millionaires at a time when he's promising also his plan is to cut services for people. And that Pierre Poilièvre shows up to a factory where workers had just lost their job. And he proposes a tax cut for big business and nothing for those workers who lost their job. I'm sure they would want nothing other than for us to disappear and not point out those things. But news to them, we're not going anywhere. We're here, and we're going to fight for people every single day.
And just as a follow-up, if I may just drill down on you. Again, it's your third campaign. So why are you deserving of a job promotion going into an election campaign with such weakened support?
Well, we've shown Canadians who were feeling really like a lot of struggle and worries that we can deliver for them. When people were saying that we can't afford to take care of our teeth, we delivered dental care. For folks that were telling us that they couldn't afford their medication, we delivered pharmacare. We've delivered for Canadians. And I want folks to know, in this time when there are serious threats to our country, we know that the other guys aren't in it for you. They've showed you their priorities. Mark Carney spent his career making rich people richer, and he's done it profiting off of the crisis, like the housing crisis. Pierre Poilièvre, like Conservatives always do, wants tax cuts for his billionaire buddies and cut services for you and your family. If you want someone that's going to fight for you, that's always going to put you and your family first, not the billionaires, not the CEOs, but you. That's us. That's New Democrats, and that's what we're going to show you every single day of this campaign.
Thank you very much. Next media.
Hi, Mr. Singh, Taria Isri, Global News. During your speech, you described Carney as an elitist and Poilièvre as someone who cuts deals with billionaires, but poll after poll shows that their messages are resonating more than yours. So why do you think that is?
Well, this is an important election, and in this election, we're going to show Canadians the choices that they have. Mark Carney is already showing you now his priorities. What are some of the first things that he did once becoming Prime Minister? He did a flip-flop on capital gains, which is a tax cut that benefits mostly people who earn more than $1.4 million a year. He is prioritizing the people that he's always worked for, his whole career. Not surprising. He has made rich people richer, and he's done it on the backs of working class folks. He's done it on the backs of the middle class folks. And so I want folks to know that. They need to know who he's in it for. And Pierre Poilièvre, his plan is also one that's going to give tax breaks to billionaires and cut services for you. He's already said he's going to cut, his plan is to cut dental care. He wants to cut pensions. He's already put that plan forward. He wants to cut the things that you and your family need to give more to his billionaire buddies. We are different. We are proposing a plan. Our plan is to lower your bills, to take on the corporate grocery giants that jack up your prices, put in place a price cap on those food essentials, to ban corporations from buying up affordable homes. We are going to fight for you. Every day of this campaign, we're going to show you the choices that you have, and we're going to make it clear that New Democrats have your back and that we're in it for you.
You also seem to tie both Carney and Poilièvre to Trump in their own ways, if I'm reading that correctly. Do you think both of those leaders are Trump-like in their own way, and is that part of your strategy in this campaign, to tie them to the U.S. president?
Well, let's be clear. Donald Trump has come out and endorsed Mark Carney. Elon Musk has endorsed Pierre Poilièvre. I'm the only federal candidate that is 100% not endorsed by the Donald Trump administration.
Merci beaucoup. Prochain média, Radio-Canada.
En français, juste sur Donald.
Oui. Je peux le faire encore en anglais parce que j'ai aimé dire ça.
Non, ça va aller juste en français, on va le prendre, merci.
Elon Musk has endorsed Pierre Poilièvre. Donald Trump has endorsed Mark Carney. I'm the only candidate 100% not endorsed by anyone in the Donald Trump administration. Et en français, parce que j'ai hâte de répéter ça, parce que c'est important pour les gens de savoir, Mark Carney a été appuyé par Donald Trump. Elon Musk a appuyé Pierre Poilièvre. Donc, je suis le seul candidat au niveau fédéral qui est 100% non appuyé par l'administration de Donald Trump.
Première question.
Bonjour, Juliane Lapointe de Radio-Canada. Vous avez parlé dans votre discours du rêve de Jack Layton, mais en ce moment, le seul siège que vous détenez, le NPD au Québec, est même pas assuré pour les élections. Qu'est-ce que vous avez de nouveau à offrir au NPD aux Québécois
pour inverser cette tendance-là?
Pour les Québécois et pour les Canadiens, on a un bilan. On a montré qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire avec le pouvoir. On a livré les marchandises pour les Québécois et Québécoises. On parle de les soins dentaires, par exemple. C'est un programme où plus de 500 000 Québécois et Québécoises ont reçu l'aide. Plus de millions de personnes au Québec se sont inscrits dans ce programme. C'est un programme que les libéraux ont voté contre plusieurs fois. Ils ont résisté et on a forcé le gouvernement de le faire. Les conservateurs ont voté contre. Même le Bloc québécois a voté contre les soins dentaires. Même si c'est un programme qui aide beaucoup de Québécois et Québécois se sont inscrits dans le programme, le Bloc a voté contre l'idée. Donc, le Bloc a montré qu'ils sont un parti inutile au Québec. Ils n'ont pas livré de l'aide aux gens. Et on a montré qu'on peut livrer l'aide. Et on l'a fait. Avec l'assurance médicaments aussi, on a livré les marchandises. On a montré avec un bilan clair qu'on peut pas seulement parler des enjeux, mais on peut réaliser les gains concrets pour les vies des gens.
Donc, nouveautés, en termes de nouveautés, on verra pendant la campagne.
Oh, bien sûr, on va proposer plusieurs idées pendant la campagne.
Donc, vous en êtes à votre 3e campagne, justement, mais quand on regarde les chiffres dans les sondages, c'est quand même un début où on a remarqué un creux, comme on ne l'a jamais vu, ou en fait, comme on l'a vu seulement il y a des décennies passées. Est-ce que vous croyez, comment vous pouvez nous convaincre ou convaincre les Canadiens que vous êtes encore la bonne personne pour faire passer votre message?
Si vous avez peur à ce moment que dans toute cette guerre commerciale avec la menace de Donald Trump, vous avez peur que vos emplois est en péril, vous avez peur que le coût de la vie va augmenter et vous avez peur que les seules solutions que vous avez entendues des Mark Carney ou de Pierre Poilièvre aident les ultra-riches et pas aident vous ou votre famille. Nous sommes votre option. Parce qu'on a montré que chaque décision qu'on prend, c'est pour aider la vie de monsieur, madame, tout le monde. On ne travaille pas pour les ultra-riches, on ne travaille pas pour les PDG, on travaille pour vous. Et pendant cette campagne électorale, on va montrer ça. On va montrer comment notre priorité, c'est monsieur, madame, tout le monde, c'est les travailleurs et travailleuses, et on a les preuves qui montrent comment on peut réaliser ça.
Merci beaucoup. We'll go with the Toronto Star.
Good afternoon, Mr. Singh. Mark Ramsey of the Toronto Star. You're spending quite a bit of time attacking Mark Carney and his record. He's not spending much time talking about you. You're spending a lot of time talking about Pierre Poilièvre and his record. He's spending much time talking about you. Why do you think that is?
Well, I want these folks to know, I want Canadians to know what they're really about. And I'm sure Mark Carney and Pierre Poilièvre would love for me not to mention what they're really trying to do and what their plan is about. But that's what we're going to do in this campaign. We're going to let folks know honestly what the other parties want to do. Mark Carney is showing us in real time his priorities. He's shown you that his priority is to do what he's done throughout his career, to make rich folks richer. He did that when he was the head of Brookfield, that engaged in rent evictions, that kicked people out of affordable homes and put those homes back on the market for triple the price they were before. He made money off the housing crisis, off of people struggling to find a home. People need to know that. They need to know that his priority is tax cuts for millionaires and cutting services for you and your family. People need to also know that Pierre Poilièvre wants to do what conservatives always do. They want to cut services like health care, like dental care, like pensions. They want to cut them so they can give bigger tax breaks for their billionaire buddies. People need to know the choices they have, and they also need to know you Democrats will always have their back. We will lower your bills, build homes you can actually afford, bring down the price of groceries, make your life better.
And if Canadians elect a minority conservative or liberal government in this election, would you commit to working with either of them, or is there one in particular you wouldn't want to work with?
This is day one of the election campaign. I'm running to be Prime Minister of this country because I believe people deserve a Prime Minister that's going to work for them every single day. And that's what New Democrats do. We work for working people. We work for everyday families. And I think people deserve that. So that's what we're going to do. We'll worry about the results of the election afterwards. I'm running for Prime Minister because I believe in you and I choose you.
Thank you very much. Le devoir.
Bonjour, M. Singh, Boris pour Le Devoir. J'avais une autre question, mais respectueusement, vous n'avez pas bien répondu à la question de mon collègue. Vous avez beaucoup mis de l'avant ce que vous êtes allé chercher au gouvernement libéral en termes de politique sociale. Si l'occasion vous était présentée, est-ce que vous collaboriez, par exemple, avec un gouvernement Carney pour faire adopter davantage de politique sociale?
C'est la journée 1 d'une campagne électorale. Je me présente comme un candidat pour le premier ministre de ce pays. Je vais parler des options après les résultats, après les gens ont décidé, mais je pense que ce n'est pas juste aux journées 1 de cette campagne de me présenter au lieu de ce que je veux faire. Je veux devenir le prochain premier ministre de ce pays et je me présente comme ça.
En suivi, vous avez, durant une bonne partie de l'année 2024, présenté le choix qui s'offre aux Canadiens entre Pierre Poilièvre ou vous. Je ne vous ai pas entendu répéter ce message-là aujourd'hui. Est-ce que vous reniez ce que vous avez dit précédemment, que l'important de cette élection, c'est de battre Pierre Poilièvre, ou vous pensez qu'il y a une autre question de l'urne cette fois-ci?
Il y a des options dans cette élection et je présente les options. Donc, je parle des deux options fédérales. Vous avez un choix de Pierre Poilièvre et j'ai présenté que son plan, c'est de couper vos services. Ça va vous coûter cher. Il va couper dans les soins de santé. Au Québec, les soins de santé, c'est le bordel. C'est une crise. Et il veut couper encore dans les soins de santé. C'est inacceptable. Et ça va coûter trop cher aux gens. Et il veut faire tout ça pour donner des gros cadeaux aux milliardaires, aux ses amis ultra riches. En même temps, vous avez un choix de Mark Carney. Mark Carney va faire tout ce qu'il a fait toute sa carrière. C'est quelqu'un qui a enrichi les ultra riches. Et il a déjà montré que c'est encore ses priorités. Des coupures des taxes pour les ultra riches, des coupures des taxes pour les millionnaires, des coupures en service pour vous et votre famille. Et nous, l'NPD, on veut baisser vos factures. On veut construire du logement abordable. On veut régler les crises dans votre vie et rendre la vie plus abordable. Ça, c'est le choix ce sont les choix dans cette élection et on va continuer de présenter les choix.
Merci beaucoup, CBC.
Hi, David Thurton, CBC News.
Hey.
This election, Mr. Singh, is about a couple of things. One of those things is certainly change. Do you feel that your past support for the Justin Trudeau government is going to make it harder for you to embody change?
What we have shown folks is that we can deliver real change. We can deliver concrete changes in your life. We have shown you that when we go out and campaign on dental care, we can deliver it. I think about this boy that I met in Parliament with his dad. He wanted to visit me and talk to me about his illness. He's a kid with type 2 diabetes, young kid living with an incurable disease. And though he's got to take injections and he's got to take medication just to stay alive, he told me that he was not worried about any of that. The injections, the medication, monitoring his blood sugar, none of that bothered him. He was worried that he was a burden on his dad. And I promised that kid that I was going to fight like hell to make sure he didn't have to worry about the cost of medication. And I kept my promise. We have now a pharmacare program. 3 provinces have signed up where diabetes medication and devices will be free. That's what we did. We made that happen. That was never going to happen with Liberals on their own. That was never going to happen without New Democrats forcing it to happen, making it happen. So we can deliver real things that make people's lives better. And I want you to know that when I promise to bring down prices, when I promise to take on corporate greed, when I promise to ban corporations from buying up affordable homes, you can trust me because I deliver.
Mr. Singh, I'll just follow up here. You had a lot to say about Mark Carney and a lot about what he's done to cash in on this crisis, you said. What evidence do you have that Mark Carney has done anything unethical to take advantage of this crisis?
Well, the fact that he headed up Brookfield, and Brookfield is a large corporate landlord in Canada that engaged in rent eviction. At a time when Canadians could not find affordable homes, he saw a way to make more profit for his company. And now I don't fault him for making profit for his company. I fault him for proposing that somehow the person that fed the housing crisis, that rent evicted people, that jacked up the price of homes that were affordable, that bought up affordable homes, then turned them into unaffordable places, that somehow that guy could be trusted to fix the housing crisis. He cannot be trusted. What he's going to do is what he's done his entire career, which is make more money for the super rich. And it's going to hurt you and your family. That's what people need to know. And I'm going to point that out every time I get. I'm also going to point out that Pierre Poilièvre is proposing to cut the things that you need at a time of uncertainty and fear and worry. He wants to cut healthcare, cut pensions, cut childcare. These are things that are going to cost you out of pocket. And he's doing all of that just to give bigger tax breaks to the richest, as conservatives always do. You deserve better than that. You deserve new Democrats who will bring down your bills, build homes you can afford, and make sure life is more affordable.
Last questions, CTV.
Hey, Rachel Aiello, CTV News. Have you had or did you try to have any conversations with Liberal leader Mark Carney since he won that election?
No, we've not had any conversations.
And so heading into this campaign, you're talking a lot about look at what the NDP were able to do in the last parliament. How are you going to cross the country trying to pitch Canadians on that message when you've got no assurances that your old dance partner's new leader wants to tango with you at all?
Well, because I don't want to dance with them. I want to be the prime minister of this country. I want folks to know that we got things done and you can see that we delivered for you. Imagine if you elect more of us, how much more we can do for you. Imagine if you elect a new Democrat government, what we could do for you. That's what I want people to know.
Thank you. This ends the press conference. En français, s'il vous plaît, Monsieur Singh.
Sorry, I'm just going to jump in here because you never...
Non, est-ce que vous voulez répéter, Monsieur Singh, en français?
En français, oui, en français. Donc, c'est une question sur la danse. Je ne veux pas danser avec les autres chefs de parti. Je veux devenir Premier ministre pour livrer les marchandises pour les gens. On a eu l'occasion de livrer des changements qui a aidé la vie des gens dans un gouvernement minoritaire. Imaginez ce qu'on peut faire si on a un gouvernement néo-démocrate qui chaque jour travaille pour vous et votre famille. Qu'est-ce qu'on peut accomplir ensemble? Merci beaucoup. Thanks so much.
This ends the press conference. Thank you very much. C'est ce qui termine notre conférence de presse. Merci beaucoup tout le monde.
Well, sorry, apologies. It's cold and snowy out here right now. I hope you can hear me. That was an interesting Q&A session, if you ask me. My phone has gone all haywire for some reason. I don't know if Mr. Beaver is still there. Are you still there, sir? I think he's in the background, but I don't know if he's going to pop up or not. Yeah, he's trying to pop into the conversation here. So, yeah, apologies for that. There you are. There you are.
There you go.
I think you're muted. Yeah, you're good.
Sure. Yeah, I had to plug in there for a little bit during there. Mr. Grizzly, I think we have a show because I only have a couple of seconds left. So I will do the extra, and then we'll go back on Jagmeet Singh tomorrow when we start.
Sounds good.
Okay. So kids and cubs, as you noticed, an exercise in rejecting the frame on almost everything. All these golden opportunities to talk about himself that he passed on instead and chose to talk about the others. The questions in French, asking him, if he's going to bring anything new. He didn't really have anything new. What he had specifically for Quebec, given that Quebec was not even a given for them because they only have one seat and that was not a given. He had nothing there for them, saying like, something new. There'll be some new stuff over the course of the campaign, but he had nothing to say. So no plan, no announceables, no presentations. It was literally all framing. And not really engaging with the questions, passing on all opportunities to talk about themselves, to turn these situations into positives. And just talking about the other guys, they're billionaires, will work for you, they won't. And that was pretty much all he had to offer, unfortunately. Kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless, so please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do. Now, if you would like to make sure you do not miss an episode, you do not have to. thanks to the Ray Girl who sponsors our pod page, podpage.com/The True North Eager Beaver with the hyphen between each one of those words. And when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes straight to you if you click on subscribe. Also, if you would like to, make sure you surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Incorporated, True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube site and click on our buttons like and share and subscribe like Kit, Elaine, and Cassie would so encourage you to do, and join our subscriber base. Thank you so very much. Now, if you would like to help us with the show, for example, by helping us take care of some of the financial costs that we incur, well, that QR code that's just appearing on by my head right there should bring you to our coffee page. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And there you will find the Emergency Hydration Fund tip jar where you can do your part to help fight the terrible scourge that is dry beaver. Keep your beaver moist and give us a little attaboys if you like the content that we have. And if you are not able to contribute financially, please do not worry at all, because the gifts of your participation and attention are the ones that matter most to us. And we want to hear from you. truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address. That's also where you can send a direct transfer if you want to avoid the CE bros and just have a 100% Canadian transaction. But that's where we want to hear your comments. truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. Also at True Eager on Blue Sky or on Twitter. And of course, our original home on Facebook, True North Eager Beaver. And if you're listening here on YouTube, well, leave us a comment down here in the chat, right? We'd love to hear you from you. We can't answer everyone, but we do read everything. Because democracy is something that you do, just get involved here with the election, find out more about your candidates. If there's still some opportunity to vote at a polling station, to volunteer at a polling station, maybe that would be a good idea to get that experience. It's something everybody should do at least once. So everybody, there's lots of stuff, ways to get involved. Please do. Democracy is not a spectator sport. Words of wisdom, they're going to have to come from me today. I can't believe that actually my battery lasted this long, because we're over 3 hours. So yay, battery. Normally it peters up before that. But yeah, always keep your batteries up, eh? And thank you so much for this patience for this longer show. We wanted to make sure that we got both leaders in, and tomorrow hopefully we'll talk a little bit about the Bloc and the Greens so that we're not forgetting about them, and give them their time as well, and then get more into the actual campaign. But we wanted to make sure that we got all the initial presentations so that you know what you're dealing with here. All right, I think that's everything for me, kits and cubs. So it could be a tough world out there. Please be kind to and gentle with yourselves. And I guess now I have to cue the cock on myself and see if I am able to stick that. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.